1, 2, yeah, that one. There we go. Okay. Why is it bouncing?
Because I think my phone is on.
Okay.
Do I have to put that on?
Try to just.
Well, I have it on the webcam, so.
Okay, so we don't need to use this?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? And
I don't want
you hear us now? Yeah. Okay, now they can hear us. Perfect.
Okay. Is we going to have to go through this every day?
I hope not. Robert, can I ask you to help her if I'm not here?
Yes.
Okay.
Get an extra class. Sunday. Oh, that's let you know how that's impossible. He's not having a class. Okay. So where did I stop?
Something about getting a job.
The tolerance limit?
Yes, the tolerance limit. So all that is going to be taken into consideration. Okay. So the way I'm going to teach the class is that the slide that Star used is for, it's really like a high level overview. It doesn't go into depth as far as we do in this MM class. Okay, it's good to know we're going to use the template for that they have provided, which is what GBI with these company codes and all that, so that will be already have been done. We don't have to configure the FI portion. Okay. But everybody's going to be responsible for creating their own plans, their own storage location, and all that good stuff. Okay. So we're going to take it in phases, and I'm going to talk to you about that once we start to start visiting it. Okay. See, can we have a clock here, because that will tell me when to give them a break.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
The clock on.
Okay.
The clock was, oh my gosh, it's like genie. Let me go get one thing now.
The one that I put in Zach's office was not working. He changed the battery, but it wasn't working. So let me tell you about myself. Okay. I'm a Nigerian. Okay. Went to school in England. Okay. And my children say I have a funny accent. Their friends think I'm Jamaican. I say, well, whatever. Okay. Okay. But I went to school in England. I did some of my master's in Nigeria. So I have a degree in English and a degree in law. Okay. Okay. So that is for me, that's a conversation piece when I go for an interview. They say, how the hell is a law person trying to do SAP? But the opportunity was offered to me when I was working in a company in Pasadena. This is a company that is called, I can't even say, it was a logistics company, and all we were doing was transporting empty beer kegs back into Scotland and Ireland in the UK. Okay, and it was a young guy who started it. Brilliant idea. I didn't know Americans drank that much, But we were taking them by the containers back to be refilled and brought back. And so they needed someone who they felt would be able to manage their logistics, and that's how I got onto SAP. Okay, I started with 3.1, some of the most archaic, things in SAP. Okay, and from there I just started to develop. I got laid off, yes, got fired. My name is down there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. But we just moved from one place to another. So if you get to a job and they lay you off or whatever, they fire you, don't look at it as if I used to just cry. Yeah. And thank God I was married to a man who was, who is able to take it, because I just used to cry. I can't do this, I can't do this. Yeah. I would be in a fetal position for days. But that was because I didn't want to pay for anything. Yeah. So I would just stay there, and then they say, you'll be fine, we'll be okay. And then you move to the next one. But you will find that when God closes one door, He will open up another one. So, He will open. I'm a living testimony to the fact that He will. Okay? So you just have to use it as lessons learned, use it to build up your resume and move up. Okay? That's just the only way that you can do it. Okay, so I worked with Shell. I first started with HP, then I moved to Shell. I was with Shell for 4 years. Then I moved to IBM. I was in IBM. I worked several projects in IBM. I worked with Caterpillar. I actually did the IBM project, which was to put IBM on an SAP platform. Okay, I worked with where else? I just been to places. Okay, I worked with ExxonMobil. I've worked in Russia. I've worked in England.
And Nigeria.
And worked even in my country, Nigeria. Okay, where I've been to places in Nigeria I never knew existed. But you know, there's a thing going into your country as an expat. You know, you just see things that the white people see in your country, and you just say, I didn't know this was here. You know, I'm a full-blooded Nigerian. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it has opened so many doors. It has opened so many things for me. You know, my children have been fortunate enough to go to good schools. My eldest daughter went to Vanderbilt. Okay, and my other daughter went to Baylor. So I mean, it has paid for so many things and so many luxuries for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? And if you take it and run with it, the sky is really the limit for you people. Okay, we have done projects in Killeen where the military, you know, those people who are coming back and re-engineer to go into the workforce, and you can see the zeal. Some of them with little or no knowledge, you know, and they come and they sit there and they were doing what we call Trek 10. That means they had how many cores? 10 core modules that they had to learn to take this exam, and you are doing only one. So you have no excuse. You really and truly have no excuse. And if we're sitting here from 6 to 10 every day, you know, and we're coming in Monday to Friday, then you really have Monday to Thursday.
We're gonna be here by Friday on ourselves.
No, you'll be surprised when I call a Friday class. Yes, I will give, if I'm going to call a Friday class to make up or whatever, I will give you notice. But don't think it's only going to be Monday to Friday. This is do or die, because I only want 14 weeks of your time in your life. So if by God you're going to give it to me, whether you like it or not, I just need 14 weeks, and then you can go do whatever you want. Because nobody has gotten a job and come back and said, Ms. Chinu, you know what? I give you 10%, or I'll take you out for lunch. No one has done that yet, or maybe one student. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it is all to push you and push you to get to where you are comfortable with. Okay? And I'm always there and I'm always available. I'll give you my email address and I'll give you my phone number. Please be nice. Okay? Don't call me on Sunday because I'm in church. Okay, but students will still call me on Sunday because I keep telling them it's not be all or end all. You're not on a project where you need immediate assistance. Okay? And I've seen students who have called me, who have gotten a job and are still calling me because they need help.
Yes.
You know, I don't have a problem with that. But you have to give me something to use to work with. If you're not doing well in class, don't expect me to pick up my phone. In fact, I will block your number. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not a joke.
She told you she was going to go through expectation today.
Well, she's telling you, you come here for something.
You've come here for 14. You give me 14 weeks of your time at 80%, and you will see what we can do together. Do you understand what I'm saying? So please don't take this as a joke. You know, some people come in here and say, Ms. Tinu, what do I put in here? And I say, go figure it out yourself. This is not typing 101. This is SAPMM. You need to understand why you're putting what you're putting, the ramifications and the repercussions of what you are doing. You know, because SAP is an integrated software, so it has a ripple effect. What I put in MM may have an effect, pick your choice, in accounting. It may affect my accounts. It may have an effect in my sales if I have ST. So it has a ramification and repercussion. And you need to understand that this is what separates the boys from the men, that you understand what it is you're doing and why, if you are getting this error message, you understand how to resolve those error messages and move forward. And even if you cannot resolve those error messages, you know the thing to tell people. Okay, standard SAP for AMO is, let me get back to you. Never ever say you don't know. Let me get back to you. If you don't understand it, call me. If I don't understand, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to Google the sucker. You know what? Some Indian has seen this error message before. And they've written it down. Now, your thing is which one of these things, because not everything that is on Google, that is the truth. So you now have to figure out, based on which one of these things that these people have put in here is true. And that's when you test in the back end to make sure. Okay? You're not going to know everything in 1 week, 2 weeks. You're not even going to know anything in 10 weeks. I tell my students that when I first started, people are going to be looking at me like he's looking at me. I'm not scared. I'm a big girl. You can look at me like that, okay? Now, if you're looking at me like that at week number 6, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
Because week number 6 is procurement. So if you are looking at me like that, that means you didn't understand organizational structure, you didn't understand master data, that means you haven't done your due diligence, that means you haven't given me your 80%, and that means that it depends on if I like you, will I help you?
Oh, gosh, can you?
I remember this is true.
And we're all adults.
Yeah, but Christine, why would I come in on Saturday if Monday to Thursday you're on Google
You're not
for a job that you're
listening.
not even ready for?
It's true. It's true.
And like I said, she's sitting here, Christine, that's the president of the school. I can give you her phone number if you want to report. But it's not going to work like that.
I can log in too.
Yeah. Do you understand what we give you the system? And you see the beauty of it, we give you the system not
To
only
work
in the
at home.
front end, and we give you the system in the back end. And that back end is the most dangerous place. You know why? Because if you make a change in the back end, it affects the whole client,
Yeah.
not just this class. So if I change, for example, if I change my material master numbering, which is, I think it's 40 characters, if I change it to 8, anywhere in the world that they're using this client, this Yeti client, right? And they go in to create a material master record and they save it, it's only going to give them 4 characters. Because you've changed that at the client level and it affects everything. So my advice to you is that if you don't know what you're doing, do not save. If they ask you, do you want to save? You say no. Heck no. There's a heck no there, and you get out of it. Because I'm telling you, if you go to the back end and you make a mistake, it's how long it's going to take you to resolve that mistake is part of the class. I'm not going to go home and sit down with a glass of wine to resolve a mistake that I told you don't do. So if it takes me sitting here for 4 hours, I will do it in 4 hours. And then I will put that 4 hours to what? Classes taught, lessons learned, and I will move forward. We have too much to do, too much to do, because I've already told you, don't mess with the back end. I did say that, right?
Yes.
Don't mess with the, if you don't know what you are doing, and it says, do you want to save? You say no.
Heck no.
Get out. Yes, I put heck no there too. And get out of it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No.
To what extent do you deal with master data? Do you go to the database or do you just configure stuff what in the master data file in terms of the fields and records?
Okay, that's a very good question. Master data is data that I like to say that if
Can you repeat the question so everybody online can hear? Did they hear you?
Wow.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
To the world.
okay.
Okay, to what extent do you configure, do you deal with master data? Is it just configuration or do you also deal with the database itself with respect to the fields and records of what you're dealing with?
We deal with master data intensively because master data is the data that we have to configure and set up to be able to use the transactional data.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So if I am going to create a material, okay, that I'm going to, because every material that we're going to receive into inventory, which is at our storage location, must have a material master record.
You guys show me how to map to all of the tables and everything that's affected.
I'm going to show you the tables. We're going to go to the back end. We're going to look at the tables in SE16 because SAP to me is nothing more than data and configuration.
Okay.
That's what, and my way of teaching is that sometimes when I say something and I say write it down, I mean write it down because it is an interview question or an exam question.
Okay.
So that's the first thing you need to write down. SAP is nothing more than data and configuration. Okay? The data is done in the front end. after we've configured in the back end. Okay, so SAP. So when you're talking about SAP, the long and short of this whole 14 weeks is that SAP is nothing more than data and config. Okay? Let me spell it properly. For configuration. Okay? This configuration is done in the back end. Did Starter talk to you about SPRO, SPRO?
No.
Okay, so we're going to look at this configuration in SPRO.
No.
Okay? Yes, thank you. The data is, configuration is done in the back end. Okay? And this data is entered in the front end.
And SPR is in the front end?
SPRO is the transaction that takes you to the back end. When you log into SAP, you will see it gives you the front end.
Okay.
So what's the first thing you log into SAP and it asks you whatever, that is your front end.
Okay.
That's where we put the data. Okay, so the system goes to the back end and validates that data via the configuration. So if I say, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's okay. You okay?
Don't break the seal.
See, I get very excited. I almost
Yeah.
actually, the person who pays my okay. So if I come in here and I say here, transaction code is this, what is this? User ID is learn, okay? Okay, once you log in, this is your front end,
Right, okay.
okay? This is what a lot of people see, okay? Now, if I want to go to the back end, I will do here, this is my command field. There are two ways to get to the back end. I can either do, put my code here, because SAP is what? Transaction code driven or menu path driven. That's another thing you should write down. SAP is transaction code driven or menu path driven.
SAP is.
Transaction code driven or menu path driven.
Oh, yes, or manually, you have to go in and.
Menu.
Menu?
M-E-N-U.
Okay,
This
menu.
is your menu area.
Oh,
This
yeah,
tree.
right there, okay.
Okay? So, if I know the transaction code, I put the transaction code in here.
Yeah.
If I don't know the transaction code, then I have to go through this tree.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I go in here and I say SPRO, I hit enter. This is the back end.
Okay.
Some of you may never see this again after this class. This is where we do configuration.
Oh, okay.
Because most companies will not give you access to their.
You can never, they will never give you access unless you are actually being employed to do the configuration. Okay? So this is where we do configuration. You see, it says customizing.
Yes.
Okay? So if I go into here, reference IMG, that's reference implementation guide, this is where we do all our configuration. Okay? So SAP is nothing more than data and configuration. It is what? Menu path driven or transactional code driven. One or the other or both. That being said, every task will have a menu path, but it may not have a transaction code. Let me repeat myself. Every task will have a menu path. Menu path this, but it will not have a transaction code. May not have a transaction code. Okay? This here, if you open up your button here and you go here, you will see transaction code.
Which right next to this.
Okay? So this is where you will know where you are. Does this make sense? Okay? So if I go in here, I say enterprise this, I say definition, I say logistics general, I say define, copy, delete, check plant. If I want to create a plant, I do it here.
Here, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, if I want to see what plant, everything in SAP goes into tables. Everything in SAP goes into tables. Thank you very much. This
I
is
was
a very
waiting.
smart class.
I was
I
waiting.
repeated it twice, people started writing. Okay? There are two types of tables. Header table, line item table.
So which one? The
Line item
line
table.
item?
And a header table. So it depends on where the input is. Open up another session. If I go into transaction code ME21N, which is what? To create a purchase order, right, guys? The purchase order ME21N, this is the old thing. So what do? I say \N,
Right.
ME21N, enter. So here you will see that it has header, item overview, item
Item.
detail.
Yeah.
Everything here goes into the header table of the PO.
Okay.
PO header table. So everything in SAP goes into tables. There are two types of tables: header table, line item table. So anything here and here will go into the line item table for the PO.
So then, if I want to put together another database, so if I want to look at my dependencies, so that I understand what tables are impacting other tables, as well as my data, my fields and records, all that. How do you do that?
Okay, that is a bit too techy, okay, but I will show you what I'll show you what you're talking about, okay? Because the whole idea is not to make you, the whole idea is to make you 80% functional, 20% technical.
Yeah.
We cannot in 14 weeks complete the whole of MM, because MM includes WM, warehouse management. It has other integration pieces, okay? But I will show you where that is. Let's look at a table. Open up another session. How many sessions can you open up?
6.
6.
Before we open another session, is it okay if we go back to the online, because we're not sharing our screen with them? There's a part which is shared screen. At home right now, they're not able to see the boxes you're opening because we're not sharing the screen. So I want to show you what it is. Continue. And once you do it once, you don't have to do it again. Once you start, I'm sorry, this is the first day.
Oh, excuse me. So where are we going?
Go, just minimize this first.
I can never see this.
Or if you just go to Chrome. you know.
Okay. Yeah, right in there. That's
This one?
Mhm. Okay, I think we're right up here. It should be shared screen. Is that presentation? No. Oh, here. This one, desktop sharing, correct. Oh, can you see on yours if it's sharing?
Not yet. It says it's loading.
It's loading.
So
I just wanna make
think
sure.
if you hit it, and then there will be a option that says yes. Open app.
This was not so complicated last time.
I think it was that pop-up that.
Yeah, that she puts text to. Okay, so.
You can try AV settings, maybe? Does it have a, no, it doesn't.
Click on the URL and refresh the screen. Let's see if we could do that and then go back and click share top.
Or F5,
Or F5,
yeah,
yeah.
that one.
Okay, so refresh. Now let's see if we can share the screen again. Sorry, guys, I just wanted to make sure that the others at home are able to see what she's doing on opening up the screens.
Try hitting F5 again, because I didn't see it refresh. I don't know if it does that on that.
Now why is it making red?
Let's see, open it.
It's
That's
recording.
It's recording right now, right? Okay. AV settings, open, have you already opened? Yes. go to menu, let's see if we can, all the way up at the very top menu. Let's see, whiteboard desktop sharing, okay, and we click on it. No, okay, go ahead and click on that, where the X is.
This one?
Yeah. All right, now let's click on it again. Okay, now, open quick meeting. All right, good job. There we go.
Okay, I hope somebody's writing this down, because my brain doesn't work like that.
Okay, so
I
now
don't know what to do tomorrow.
You
go
said,
to full
full
screen. All right, now we're sharing. Now you can get, now you can minimize this and go back to your desktop.
All right, it's on now.
Thank
So-
you.
Okay.
Do you have the screen as an extension or as like a duplicate?
She's gotta put this on the thing.
Because if you have that duplicate, you can see it like in front of you instead of like on your head.
To share it?
No, I mean just like as the,
Start.
I think I'm having like
like have the same thing on
two
the
screens
computer and
open,
on the
like a chat,
projector.
Link to download.
where you can have it on the side.
Did you download it at home?
I just came back from Nigeria.
That's okay.
I don't know if that's gonna make it.
Yes, that one. Where did you get the link?
It doesn't bother me as long as, I really want the whole screen to be able to show what it is and.
So she's gonna give you the link so you can download.
No, no.
See if you can like have one here and then.
I was trying to.
Oh, you on it?
I was trying to do that.
Yeah, I
but
just
and
wanted
I
to see
told
what
that
they
in there,
are.
but they said-
Thank you, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Can you write down your email address, please?
And you have to email her,
Oh, is this connected to that?
I don't think it
at
is.
least explain.
That's what I was asking
I like
Christine.
I
No,
don't
but
know.
it no good if you.
I wish I had a techie
You
person.
know, see how
Okay,
she just
but
said
I-
Oh, wait,
that?
no, this is the
But
one
it took
back
me
there, right?
Friday to understand, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm listening.
We getting.
Now, okay, now I
Oh, this
can
is
like
the-
answer the words,
Yeah.
cause I
And
see
that's what I
now
was
it
trying
ain't
to,
like
I
what I
was trying
thought.
to hook this up
Yeah,
to,
I
I thought I could put this, project that on the screen.
She was here, what's her name? Call
I know Mitch was doing something.
You call me,
but I don't know.
Coletta, yeah. She was here
Yeah, I know Mitch
Thursday,
was doing something.
and,
I can ask the IT guy.
Everybody-
I was trying to email her.
To see if he could get it done.
Okay, yeah, because I would need to
But I didn't have.
project this onto the screen,
Yeah, take a
because that's
picture.
where my teaching material is.
But your email address and phone
Okay.
number is not on here. You have a list?
Let's,
yeah, I mean,
no, I want to finish this, okay? So, what did we say? SAP is nothing more than data and configuration.
yes, you're talking about tables.
The data is in the front end, and the configuration is done in the back end, okay? Everything goes into tables. We have the header table and the line item table, okay? So, if you want to see the tables, the transaction code is SE16. Did you do that in class?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
let's wait for her.
SE16 will take you to the tables. You need to know the table name,
Okay.
okay? So I'm going to send you a handout that has most of the tables that we use. Does it have all the tables? Heck no. But it has most of the common tables that we use. I thought that I could project this up on the screen here for you to be able to see it, but it's not working, so we're just going to use what is here. Okay? Now, did she talk to you about tables at all? Okay.
Just transaction code.
Just transaction codes. Okay. So let's talk about tables. Everything resides in a table in SAP. It's either a header table or a line item table. You need to know the table name for you to be able to access the table. Right. So when let's say I want to create a plant, okay? The table that holds the plant data is T001W. That's the table that holds, please don't write that down because I'll send you the handout.
Okay.
So I hit enter. Once I hit enter, it says you are not authorized to display this table because I am in your, what is it called, in your environment. I'm not at the faculty environment. But what it will normally do, it will show me all the data that is inputted in that table. Okay? Now, based on what I know, I'm just going to do a test, okay, to show you. I know for a fact that my name is not on that table.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Mhm.
So now let's say I want to create a purchase order. Let me say I use vendor to new. Okay?
Okay.
If I hit enter, it's going to go to the table that holds vendor information, which is LFA1 or LFB1. Those are the tables that hold vendor information. So if I say enter, it is going to go to the table to validate.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a table, a vendor called Tinu?
Canoe.
If it is there, bring it forth.
Yeah.
If it is not, give me an error message, hard-coded error message, which will be on the status line here. And I look at those error messages as saying that do not pass go, do not collect 200 until you make those changes.
Yeah.
It is validating the data entry in the front based on the configuration we've done in the back end. So let me say my purchase organization. Let me look for a purchase organization here.
Okay.
I'm going to say US this.
Okay.
My purchasing group, I'm just going to pick anything in there. I say North America.
Alright.
My company code, I'm just going to pick anything here. I say this. Okay? I hit enter.
It's giving you a message.
You see what the error message
Yes.
says? No master data exists for vendor to know. This is what I call a hard-coded error message. Did she talk to you about that?
I mean, she had spoke about if you do something wrong, you will see it'll give you a message down at the left hand.
So
she didn't tell us.
There are 2 or 3 types of error messages. This hard-coded error message is do not pass go, do not collect too much. I can hit it till I'm blue in the face. It's not going anywhere until you make that change because it's validating it from where? The table. Then we have another error message that is a warning. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's in yellow.
Oh, yeah.
That one is telling you that, hey, this is likely to happen and you can bypass that. So what is the difference? The hard-coded error message, you need to attend to the issue. The other one, which is a warning, is just telling you that, hey, this is a warning. For example, if I create a purchase order and it says delivery date and I put a Friday, based on the configuration we've done in the back end, which is the American calendar is Monday to Friday work day, okay? And I put something on Friday, it's going to tell me that the next possible delivery date is what? Monday.
Right.
I can still hit enter, it will take it because the system is supposing that maybe you want to send to you by DHL or some fast mode. But American thing is Monday to Friday.
Right. Okay.
That is your what we call it's called the factory calendar. It's based on a Monday to Friday thing. So if I put in something on Friday, it's going to that I want to deliver on Friday. It will say delivery date is not possible, and then it will give you the next date based on what your factory calendar. Yes, or whatever date it is. So
when you say factory, I'm sorry. When you say factory calendar, that means whatever date they have available.
No, when I say factory calendar, I'm saying that the U.S. operates on a certain factory calendar. Okay, you people have Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, Friday, Christmas, December 25th. In England, we have what we call Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas.
Yes.
That's a holiday.
Yes.
In England, we have what you call bank holidays. So all those are put into the factory calendar to say, okay, on the 25th is Christmas Day, 26th is Boxing Day. So don't expect any kind of thing there until the next day.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
So the factory calendar is based on
whatever the company
or
put
whatever the country does.
Yeah.
In my country, we do Christmas and we celebrate with the Muslim holidays. So me being a Christian, if a Muslim holiday is coming in soon, then I become a Muslim. Okay? And then if it's a Christian holiday, I take that holiday. So we take
Yeah.
You maximize your benefits.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. And we have a lot of holidays. So for me coming to America, it was like, I have never seen a country that works like this.
Yeah.
We have a holiday, I think, twice a month, depending on what it is. And in Nigeria, if the holiday is on Friday, people start leaving on Thursday. Do you understand what I'm saying? But it's just a nicer place. This place is so rigid. You know, even pregnancy, I think is 2 days or something ridiculous.
What?
Yeah,
2 days in the hospital.
6 weeks. You can go from 6 weeks to a year. And your job will still be there waiting for you.
Look how fast we take lunch.
Exactly. You know, so sometimes we eat lunch at our desk, you know. So those are the kinds of things that are taken into consideration when you are configuring the factory calendar. And that is done where? In the back end. So that's why I say, if you put crow in the back end, you're going to get cuckoo in the front end.
Yeah.
So that is why it's very few people they are allowed to configure their system. And like I said, some of you, after this class, you will never see the back end again because you're not going to be working in there.
So we're mostly going to be working from the front end?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
She's saying it depends on what job.
It depends on what your job description is.
Okay.
Don't limit yourself. That is why we've opened up the system to you guys. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Don't limit yourself. When you're in SVRO here, and you're trying to here, okay, this is your back end.
Right.
Okay, anything that you don't understand, this is the documentation relating to what this is doing.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So be careful when you're reading the documentation because this is a German software. So it's almost like a German translation to English. So sometimes I'm reading and I'm saying, what the heck are they talking about?
I know.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
So the tables that we're talking about right now, that's part of the back end?
That's the back, that's
Okay.
in the tables, yes. And that's another thing. Because the tables are made up of data that is entered in the front end, the biggest no in SAP is that we do not do direct updates to tables. Please write that down.
No.
You cannot go into a
Updates.
table and directly make an entry. They won't allow it. It is done. I've seen them do it, but they frown against it. Why? Because all you have done is made a direct entry into that table. Okay? And it messes up the data in the front. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you never, it's a big no-no to make a direct entry into the table. Is it doable? Yes. When I worked in San Antonio, because we had so many problems, they would allow us to make it, but you need to get what we call a firefighter ID to do it.
Oh, okay.
And that firefighter ID, you need to give your name, your maiden name, your green card number, just because you have to log it in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because anything that happens, you're responsible. And what they do is that they will open up a ticket, and then you tell them you need firefighter ID. They give you that access for a certain amount of time. Once you've made that change, you come out, you ask them to close it.
Yeah. All right. Run out.
It's a ticket.
Before you document the change so that everybody knows that if they've written these triggers or whatever, that this change has been made so that if I'm accessing that former name or whatever, that I'm not.
Yeah, but the problem is that SAP has what we call an audit trail. That audit trail is as soon as you log in with your user ID and password, right? Anything you do,
It's
it's going to show you who did it, when you did it,
I know it's
what time you did it, what you changed, what you replaced it with. That is why when you log into the system and you're walking off even to smoke, log out.
So you need to understand what you were wearing.
And what you were wearing, exactly.
I didn't know
I just teach the same way. Does that make sense? Because if you don't, you're responsible for whatever that was done under your user ID. So SAP has an audit trail. And you will see when we start working in the system in the front end, if you make a change and you go to the environment, changes, it will tell you what you did it, what transaction you used to do it.
Yeah.
This is the beauty of this system. And this is why you will find that in third world countries, they don't like the system that much.
Yeah.
Because it does not give you any chance for fraud. No, does that make sense?
Yes.
It's only the big companies like the Coca-Colas, but first of all, the system is too expensive. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we are a nation of paper.
Right,
we like
that's true.
paper. We need to see it. So even if you tell them that if you hit enter, it's an electronic signal, they want to see it. So even if you have SAP in some countries, at least the project that I did in ExxonMobil, you had SAP, but they still had the paper.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we're just not comfortable
Right.
with this whole thing. Okay? Any questions? So, before we take a 5-minute break, you look at the screen, right? This is your back end, okay? Alt tab. This is your front end, okay? This is, we have a back out. Do you want to say the document first? I say no. This is your front end. This is how you know you are in the front, okay? These are your, what is it called? These are your icons, your commands, okay? This is your tree. This is your work area, and this is your status bar. This here is your status. This is where you're going to get errors, whatever information, and this is where you can, see the transaction codes and stuff. Okay? You can, what is it called? Overwrite, or you can insert. You just toggle between here. Insert means that I can go over something, right? Overwrite means that
Overriding somebody.
you can override, but it keeps pushing the. So if it's a 4-digit field, right? You need to delete for you to be able to get the thing. But if you insert, it's going to superimpose what was in there previously. Okay. Everywhere you are in this system, you will always have system. You will always have help. And these are the helps that are available. Okay? This, once you hit this, it will take you straight. You can open up an error message to SAP itself. Okay? So I can tell them, give them a reason why I'm raising up a ticket to SAP. Okay? That ticket, that portal is manned by different priorities. If you give it a number 1 priority, SAP has to respond within an hour.
Okay.
They must. That's part of the contract. If you give it a number 2, it's 4 to 6 hours. If you give it a number whatever, it's the number 4, they will have to explain within 24 hours. Okay? You must, when you're writing the ticket, you must give them your name so that they know who to contact. Okay? So it goes directly into their portal. A person will come in and will call you on the phone. Now, if they need access to your system, right, you have to go through Basis. Basis has to open up the client for them to come in to see. And it's time limited. Okay? Now, SAP will only support what they have provided. So what does that mean? When SAP comes to you, we say it is vanilla. It comes out of the box. And then you configure according to your business scenarios. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So SAP will only support what it has provided. Now, if you have gone into the system and tweaked a program, because SAP runs on what is the programming language? ABAP. Okay? If you tweak an SAP program, SAP says that if they gave you a program that began with what, let's say it's SAP or RMM, one of these programs or something, and you can see that once you're doing something, it will show you the program there. Let me say I say ME21N. Okay? Enter. Okay? You will see here, that's the transaction code.
Yeah.
This is the program that is running that transaction code.
Good.
Do you see that?
Yes.
SAP provided. How do I know? Because it says SAP. If I tweak anything in this program using SE38 or SA38, we'll figure that out later. I must, as a necessity, put a Z or a Y in front of this program. So once I tweak it, in SAP, anything you do to the program or to the back end, right, that means you tweak the system. What is the tweaking? That means that from the time that I logged in, okay, I have made a configuration change in the back end. Does that make sense? Even if I put a period somewhere, I have changed the system. So I have to rename or transport. Okay, so if I make a change to this program, I now have to put a Z or a Y in front of this program. I can rename it, but it must be named with a Z or a Y. Why? Because SAP will only support what they have given you vanilla out of the box. They don't know what the heck your programmer has done here.
Right.
They're not interested. If you need to find out what it is, then your programmer has to debug this program. They're not responsible for anything they didn't give you. Z or a Y, Z for zebra or Y or U for yo-yo. You must put that in there.
Why for what?
Y for yo-yo. You must put it in there because SAP will not support what they have not provided you because they don't know what you put in there. This now becomes, this is when we do this kind of thing, we say we are doing a core mod. We've made a core modification to a program.
And why won't someone do that?
Because maybe, for example, this purchase order, okay, like we had a situation in what is it called, in Rush, where we were doing inventory counting. When you are doing inventory counting, the PIC document, they print it and then they have to send it to the various Rush agencies, and they're all over America, okay? Because we didn't want to do that, we wanted those things to go straight to the managers who are in charge, the list of materials we wanted counted. So we tweaked that program to be able to send the email through workflow to that manager.
But that's not what the provider,
That's not, the provider just said print documents. Now we have said not only print it, but we want you to print it and send it to whoever is in charge based on the distribution list per plant. So they get it, it just cuts off, shaves it up like maybe 10 minutes or whatever from the counting. But because we had this company that Regis that was coming in to count, they needed those things to be able to start to count. Because when you're counting, the whole storage location of the warehouse comes to a standstill. Because we have to count, because SAP says that what is on the ground in my storage location must be equal to what SAP says is in the books. So if I say I have 50 pencils, I must have 50 pencils on the ground. Does that make sense?
Okay, it makes sense.
So once you do that and you make this change here, your ABABA is responsible. Now, the problem we have with a lot of these things is that when you have too many core mods, right, the system now becomes very difficult to understand. Why? Because most of the time, the person who made the change has either left, he's died, or he doesn't want to help anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what they do, what those ABABAs do is that then they now ask you to hire them as consultants to fix it. And these people can make up to $250 an hour, depending on where you are in the total pool of things. Just for them to come and explain to you their mess. I have read some technical documents made by people from, I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but it was like reading Japanese. It was such a translation from India, whatever the language is, to English. They were, in fact, the lady, she wanted to say, you have to, she said you have to, I can't remember, something you have to fuck up the whatever, and then she used the swear word. I mean, in a document for a company. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
It was beautiful to see, because then I realized that I'm not as bad as I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the documentation is so vital and so important. So that's why I say to you that you don't have to be a user. you don't have to be a configuration, you can be a documentation specialist. The document that we have in this class, which is what I'm going to divide, we put it together. We just took bits and pieces of, what we felt we needed to teach and put it together to make one document that we thought would flow. And since then, we've been sort of revising it and revisiting it and revising it and
Getting it better
revisiting it.
and better
Yes.
and better
Yeah.
every class.
Because that's a job of a documentation specialist. A tester is another person. In SAP, I noticed that some people say they use testers in various environments. In SAP, we are the testers.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? You test, you have to create the document, purchase order, create task, create purchase order, transaction, NE, whatever, input, put this. Do you understand what I'm
Without
saying?
actually doing
Then
it.
you create that whole document, you pass it to the user, the person who is testing, and then you say upon save, you must get a document number based on the number range. You understand? If you get that document, then that test has passed. If you don't, then you have to go back and revisit and say, why didn't it pass? You have to sit with the ABABA. They have to debug the program to see what is going on.
Christina, is it okay if I interrupt you? I'm planning to leave. I just wanted to make sure that somebody takes care of David because he didn't get the link from Star, so he can download the GUI at home. And then he needs to be assigned a user ID.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that when we take a break.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, this is I know it's like information overload, but I just want to give you an idea of the depth of how we're going through and what we're going through. Okay, I'm going to go over high-level overview, the navigation again, because you need to understand how to get to where you're going, what you're doing, what you're looking for, how to read the error messages, where to get help, how do you know where you are, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, because I had some questions like, okay, well, how I create, it was like, I got all this, but it's just telling me what it does. It's not telling me where I start from point A, like you say, and to know what to look for and what I put in the general, say a general invoice or a PO, like the name, address, all this stuff, and who say, and then I was going over, like, where you find the person's name who did the accounts payable person who actually did this, so it is some, opening it up and seeing.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is that you're going to have to find that out from the lessons and the teaching.
Yeah.
It'll begin to make sense. It'll begin to click. Okay. You're going to have to find that out on your own. It's painful at the very beginning, but I'm telling you, with time, you become a guru. Sometimes I sit in these classes and like I told some of my students, I learn more from you people than I would learn. You know why? Because I haven't done these things in a very, very long time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I learn from you people. I may not tell you that I learn from you people because I don't want you to feel that. Do you understand what I'm saying? But hey, and then there are sometimes I come into class, you see, because we give you access to the system, you people mess up that system so badly that it's a learning process for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? And after I've done it, I say, damn, I'm good.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So you will see the look of excitement on my face when I'm doing, because this is a system that is beyond anything. There was a time when SAP was running parallel with PeopleSoft.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of PeopleSoft?
Yeah.
Well, it's no longer here.
Right.
It's like an archaic software now. Okay. So with SAP, you can do so much. You can stay in it, and you will see from when I start teaching, you will see what I like. I understand the whole thing to be dangerous, but certain places, if you put me in, I cannot stand. I can't stand inventory. I can't start counting because I can't even balance my own paycheck.
Oh, okay.
My own pay. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
But do I know it enough to be dangerous? Heck yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take like let's take a 10-minute break. I'm gonna start talking when that long hand gets to 8. The reason why I say that is because they'll say you said 10 minutes, but it was 8 minutes. Once that long hand gets to 8, I'm gonna, if there's only one person in class and that's me, I'm just gonna start talking. Okay? Because we have a lot to cover.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable before we actually start going in and start breaking this thing down.
Okay,
Okay?
that sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do we turn this recording off or should we just leave it?
Just leave it.
She just
Okay.
leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then we have to turn it back on. And
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I know.
Okay.
how to do that.
Okay. Okay.
If you can minimize the screen sharing, the yellow circle, I think that'll give you more space.
This one?
You see the thing on there right now? Yeah. That one, then you see like the yellow circle with the line on it?
This one, right?
Yeah, that
Right. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
You coming by, Robert?
Okay, okay.
Get some napkins, because I still call the old place.
Oh, yeah, me too. Cause I got here, I was falling. I had my little camera up.
With what? Oh, let me see. She said, I'm going to give you,
Username and the link.
have you mapped to the server yet? No.
It's not supposed to.
Not too loud.
No, go ahead. Get your food.
So did y'all talk about the programming language? The programming language? I don't know what she said.
She's going through it real good.
I know.
That's why I say, I got home all last week.
I don't know how to spell that.
ABAP,
Okay.
advanced something, whatever. Okay. Where's your icon? Double click.
Yeah, they was on top of my net reaper and had that one. You talking about this, that one.
ABAP. Okay.
Mhm.
I remember that, but I didn't know what it was.
Mhm. It's here, it's on one of them, I think.
ABAP. The ABAP.
Don't talk about it. I mean, she mentioned it, but. I like to know how everything goes from point,
Right.
to go in line. Like this, I was actually, how do we find on the PO or how do we find on the invoice or PO?
Mhm.
Or just in a company, say if you looking for something, how do you know how much they have in stock?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that you will find, there are many ways. Come on.
And then I couldn't find it, that's the last one, I'm like, okay, where do I go and look for it? How do I find it? To navigate through the system.
It's not the screen.
Oh, she's giving a long hand to the system.
Did anybody use this laptop before? Or this is the first time?
Which one? That one? I think it's
It looks like the first time. Okay, so new item. Is it slow?
Yeah.
It was slow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Can we extend the time that we're logged in?
Pardon?
Can we extend the time that we're logged in? You just have to keep
It
logging?
will disconnect itself most of the time, so you have to keep logging back on.
Okay.
If it's idle for a long time, it will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. you just have to
Move it
keep
around a bit.
Yeah, it's most of the time.
I think
it's
just the
long.
way it's set up, so people don't use your login to commit crimes.
So it has-
I wasn't here.
In and out.
I think the other system I was using, my old track you, like if you make the changes, let's say, it wasn't like a master data, but it's like the database. So I'd say like beginning of the fiscal year, I changed everything like to the new price, and then someone went in and changed off on back. Then like I'll get mad and I'll like see the name, I don't know who it is, and I'll be on. Well, not me, but my boss. So that was fun.
But no,
It's like one of all the charges came in and we're like, what is going on? And so we went back and said, oh, they changed all the prices to the old prices before they ordered it. And it's like,
Right.
yeah.
She was just explaining, which one is on the we have the, SAP data and configuration. Configuration is the back end, correct? At the front end, that's where you gonna see the.
Well, that's probably what you type in the command field to get to the back end.
When you go type SPRO right, that's gonna be the front end, this is always the front end, well,
Front end is everything over here.
yeah, well, the
Once you
trio.
type in SPRO and then the thing pops up, that's the back end. So like,
See where the menu and all that, when you go in to find logistic and do all that, they call that the tree. Yeah, the tree, I got that. Okay. That's where you'll be putting your transaction on.
The top.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the main thing. Okay. You got that? Oh.
yeah, SAP is just data and configuration. So data, like, I guess what you put in on the front end, and then what you do on the back end to configure it to what, I guess, tell the system what to do with that data that you put in.
Okay, so this is slightly before most of the material that you attract and delivering.
SAP is transaction. Oh, what you mean by you can either put it right there, or you can put it through the menu, through the tree.
Suppliers of that material, we have to put it in the system.
So I can put a transaction right there, or I can go to
the
the.
warehouse, we have to create that.
So you can either get it through like the code in the command field, or
I just
like
click
I
on
said,
it.
you can click on the,
So you can put it here. So you are.
Yeah, or.
or you can go through
No,
the,
I put it,
More like that.
and then so she also said every transaction, you can get to every transaction through the tree, the mini tree, but not every transaction has a transaction code.
More effortless and more streamlined, where there's not too many hands, too much human intervention or human hands, okay?
This is what you call a tree. I can, you know how we put a code, or we can go through all of it, where we click on it. Yeah. So, fine.
You're picking it up from the warehouse, right?
So she need money.
How did we get this? Okay. Okay, so she ordered it.
And then she just reiterated and said, you won't all the time have a transaction code.
Okay, right. So you have to go through your table or your tree.
You have to go through the menu. Yeah. He just said it in a different.
And then
She went to talk about tables. You know, tables, which she's gonna send you, she's gonna send you, it's gonna teach you about the header and the header table and the
line
line.
item table. Okay.
And she said we need to know those tables now.
Right. So she's gonna set up to it.
Now, when she got to the hardcore, when she was talking about somebody going in and changing, the program. Oh, you saw that?
Yeah, that's what the back end.
And then she had status message about the error message.
The status
I don't
message.
understand
She
why
talking
it's-
about like if you
why
put the
does it
code,
do
you're gonna
that?
see it there.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to a.
She said, I'm telling you, if you, put a code in it, and, you trying to do something in the system, and you get a red message
I
right now,
need to get into this logo.
something wrong.
Logo is not working.
Then
Not been
no,
used.
they can't find it. It could be anything, it could be just didn't put the address. I mean, you know, it's gonna tell you something. Yeah, they give you, whatever give you that red message, you must say.
So now, let's go into.
Then she tell me, look, read what it's asking.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yes.
What it's telling you, you need to go find out.
But if you like a work.
What is the description you guys
you
put
need
in
to
there?
send a ticket when you do F1, and you'll do it from.
What no, description? Yeti?
I think we just left it and then it auto-populate through the application, the link.
Create a support.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can put that in yellow warning.
Okay, but that's the red, she said you're gonna get the red or you're getting the yellow.
Yeah.
The yellow is warning.
Yeah.
And then she was talking about the factory date, that's your delivery. Say I order something and, I put in, you say, can I get this delivered on Tuesday? Well, when I get ready to, when I get ready to say, put that date in, it'll show what our dates available, and I can deliver your items or whatever.
101? Did you put anything system ID guys here?
Yes,
Yeah.
YET.
YT?
That's the calendar date.
YETI?
No, just
No, just
YET.
YET.
I didn't have to do
Oh, it's not a factory calendar.
You just say don't make corrections to a table. Did I get that right?
Well, she said if you don't know what it is in the back end, don't save it, because that's, it could just mess up.
Yeah.
Because anything in the back end that
So
can
now your
affect
user
the
ID,
whole
right?
client,
User
so you're
ID,
making
right.
something in the conveyor, like the system
If
itself.
you're not sure what you're doing, you just press
L,
no.
L-E-A-R-N, learn, L-E-A-R-N.
And I guess she's saying, if I ask you really basically, I don't think you're supposed to listen to it. But if you are a company, you are trying to configure something and change something to make your system do something and don't take it. I always call tech support. Well, I always call my company,
A-L-S.
who bought the program. I always, you know how you call, say, your, whatever is down, say, your, whatever, how you call that company and they tech support, fix your program.
Yeah, I put red for
Or
error.
tech support,
Something to do with
and that's the part that she's, I believe, I'm thinking. This way I put that when, you go on the program, or on the side what she was showing, how you go, you have to put zero on ground.
Yes, yeah, when you go to, down here at the bottom here, right,
The program.
when you bring it up, it'll show you under, what do you? Now this is just gonna show you, like, say, I put it, 21.
Just
Let
ME
me,
20.
you got too many.
Well, it's just gonna show you, what you saying, it's just to show you.
Okay,
Or the,
yeah, and why?
oh yeah, the transaction.
Yeah.
And then it's got everything else.
And then see where it says program.
Right.
So it's like that, it's
That's if you wanna alter.
So I
something.
mean, if you alter it, that's gonna be in the back end. Like,
Yeah,
that's
you mess
something
with that.
into like the whole program thing that I don't really know about. It's like,
That's why I asked, why would I go in and mess with anything?
Is anybody in the system?
Besides,
yes.
I'm trying to make the system do something, it don't stand to do.
I'm in. Okay,
Or-
and Stephanie's in it too.
I don't have.
Does he have a login yet? Or does he need to make?
Yeah,
I already mapped into the server, but it's just rolling and rolling. I think.
Oh, is it internet now?
Did she assign him a number?
No, I think
Okay,
it's,
she did.
it's the,
Get into the server.
You said something was wrong with the computer.
Mm-hmm. That's why they had me move over there, because it wasn't. Is there something wrong with this computer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why
what
I
figured
was
out.
over there at first, and it just kicked me out, and I couldn't get back in, or even cooperate.
Yes, there's something wrong, but let's see, it says SAP is not responding.
So Christine said she needs to figure out what's wrong, and so she can get the IT
Okay,
person to
so
come
now
up.
this is it, okay, let's see, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Okay,
So now your user ID
Is
put
101.
that, client. 101.
and then
Okay, then hit tab. Okay, your user ID is that number that I gave you.
Learn dash.
Uh-huh.
whatever his number is, 0.
No, dash.
Yeah.
011. Okay, now, tab. Your user ID, okay, your caps are on, so I'll switch off your caps. Now write Michael, the one that I gave you, N-I, uppercase N-I. Hit enter.
move the camera. Oh, you did.
Hit enter.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
blocking it.
there's nothing going on right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Name or password is incorrect.
Oh, she gave him a learn, it's supposed to be learn 11. No, whatever the next. I'm 4.
Are you, no, this is anybody 11?
I think, is anybody left? Cause y'all two with the camera.
No,
Which,
No, she,
No, it's
the
up to
letter
10.
is 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so.
And so
I
to
think-
make it 011,
yeah.
is learn dash 011, because this is his number. And then he has to create, he has to, then that password where he has to get it, where he has to change it.
And she said she gonna go over the master data and go with, and the, organization.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have to put the password that you remember, because the password I put in here is the default password. So now put in one that you remember, repeat it and hit enter.
Said, how do you?
Oh, she was gonna tell me.
Okay.
Mr. New, how did we find out how many, a company having this stock, I mean, this,
You can go into the stock overview, okay? You can look at transaction code MMBE, put in the plant and the storage location, hit enter, it will tell you what it has in unrestricted. But that's a ways back. Yeah.
yeah,
I
because
think
she
we were
gave us,
seeing it.
oh, go ahead, you go into the.
Okay.
That's what she's telling me. So she said,
The MMB.
So you don't think the 250 you're saying is it?
And she's saying go into the stock overview. You know, it's how these channels.
Yeah.
They have several tabs.
Yeah.
Oh,
I do that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll figure that
I'm
out.
like, okay. They go in the field, like a switch. So you better stop over here. Stop. I didn't see much of this, you know. Click on here. Oh, you can go to front. And I'm looking for them people. Well, no, then. They're gonna plant, you know, what you go back on and search again, because there was another one. I thought I'm looking for the black. That's the, yeah, which, yeah, it's the black, that I'm looking for, it's the black bite, the lower bite. But it's not telling me which plant. It's so great, rush water. Yeah, I got that. I can just go up. This is the only one, this one I have, the best one. That one used to transact and I'm using it. Children. I think it's on this one.
Okay, so we were talking about just the basic understanding of the SAP model. We talked about what? The language is ABAP, okay, which is release 4. We talked about, I think your system is a 7.0, what is it called? Release 7.0, so I have to check that and see what it is. So that's one of the newest and the greatest, okay? We looked at the whole gambit of the whole thing, and I'm going to go over, I understand that some of you may be confused, especially if you don't have this background before, but by tomorrow we're going to gel it, and it's going to look not as confusing. Okay. I'm just trying to touch all the salient points, make sure that you understand. I'm trying to get what Star taught you, you know, and I know she must have told you something because I taught her. So yeah. And she has moved on to greater, better things. Okay, so we're looking at the SAP module as a whole. We looked at the back end and we realized that that's where the configuration is. We realized that there's only one way to get to the back end. Well, there are two ways. You can get it through the front end, or you can put the transaction code SPRO. You understand the difference between \n, \o, \I?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So if you go into the system and put \I, it will close down the system. It will tell you, do you want to log off? The O and the N always says open new session or create new session. Okay, no matter which way you want to go, you can only open 6 sessions at a time. Depending on the administrator, the system administrator, they can allow you to open up to 8. But most of the time, the only places that I've seen is 6. You can log off. You can create a new session using that as the asterisk there, that little thing with the asterisk there. Okay, that yellow asterisk. You can anywhere in the system, and that's an exam question. You will always have system and help anywhere you are, even if you are in a task, if you are at the beginning, whatever, you will always have system and you will always have help. That is an exam question for those of you who are interested in that. So what I tell my students is that all these things that I say, exam questions or repeat or whatever, if you have an exercise book, I always suggest you bring an exercise book and a pencil that works. I would turn the book to the other side. You know, when you write like this, Turn the book upside down, like if you're writing like this, turn the book like this, and open it up and start writing those questions and those things that I'm repeating. Because I find that sometimes the students are in the class and they are looking at the notes for where Ms. Tinu said what or whatever, and because then they ask me what date did I teach that class, and I say, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You really have to be kidding me, you know. So let's. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. So okay. So you know that once you're in the system and you log in, now if you do not know that you log in with a default password, right? And then it gives you an opportunity to what you may call it, create your own passport for which you know. Remember that has an audit trail, right? Once you log in, you're responsible for anything else that is going on. Okay. So once you log in and you change that password, you're in. Okay. So this is where I said there's no matter where you are, you will always have system, you will always have help, okay, in the system. So now, if I say, I know that I'm in the beginning here, so if I say \n, ME21N, okay, if you look at the top, it will tell you purchase order. You see, so you have purchase order create. If I go back in here and I say \n, ME51N, I hit enter. Requisition. So I'm in a task. Right. Okay. So if I go in, if I'm already in a task and I say, okay, a requisition, that's not what I want. If I say ME21 and I'm telling the system to take me to purchase order, right, guys? Because I'm already in a task, it won't do it. I cannot do it within a task. Okay. Does that make sense? That's why I put the \n or the \o. What I'm telling you either way is that close this session, open me a new session with that transaction code. Remember that these things are menu path driven or transaction code driven. This is my command field. This command field only takes transaction codes. I cannot say here create purchase order. It doesn't understand create purchase order here. So if I hit enter, it doesn't understand what I'm saying. So if I want to do that, I have to go back out here and I say logistics, which is the movement of materials and or services across the supply chain. Then I say materials manager. Then I say materials management. I say purchasing. I say purchase order, and I say create. Anytime you see these bullets here, that means there's still embedded transactions in there. It is when you get to these dots, that is the actual task. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. So this makes me believe there's still something embedded in here. So I say enter. Okay, purchase order. I say enter. I say create. Enter. Now you see this is what is embedded in here. The ball of things. So if I say here, once I hit here, double click. This is the task, and it's going to jump into that. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if I am doing a task and I know I'm going to be doing it a lot, okay, I can add it to what we call favorites. There are 3 ways you can attack your favorites. You can go in here and say favorites, and you can say add. Okay? Or I can come in here, this one here, this task here, I can right click it and I say add to favorites. Do you see that? Yes. So it will add it to my favorites bar. Okay? I can come into the system and I say here, extras, and I say settings. Okay? And I tell it display technical names. Did you do that? Okay. Display, she taught you that? Yes. Display technical. So what is that saying? I am saying to the system, display technical names, I say enter. So when I say, it'll when you close back in, refresh, and then I say logistics, I say materials management, I say purchasing, I say purchase order. And you see now it gives me the technical names. Okay, so if I right click this, and I say add to favorites, it will add it to favorites using what? The menu path. But if I went up here and I said favorites, and I say add, and I say transaction, if I went up here and I say favorites, I say, I say favorites, I say insert transaction, I can say MMVE. I say MMVE. Oh, it's slow. Okay, so I say MMVE here, I hit enter. What is the difference? You see, because I went through the menu path using that way, that's how I put it like that. This, I just said, put the transaction in. Does that make sense?
So
Does that make sense?
So one is through the actual
One
and
is,
then one's
because
just
remember I told
the
you it is menu path driven or transaction code driven, and this exemplifies shows that. Yes, sir?
And sorry to backtrack a little bit. So you said if you're already in a transaction and you type in the command field another transaction code, it can't jump into.
It cannot do because you're already in a task.
Okay.
So I have to give it the instruction either create a new session, right, \n, or close this session and then open up a new one with this transaction.
And that's a safety thing too, is to make sure you close out one, make sure you work, it keeps you knowing what you're working in.
No, but you have to be careful. It's not, because when you say close a session and create a new one, it closes that session. So if I'm doing Alt tab, that session is not open.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You will see me doing a lot of Alt tab. You see, so if I do Alt tab and I've told it to close that session and open up a new one, it is not going to show me the session that has been closed. Whether if I say create a new session and I'm doing Alt, I cannot between tabs.
Okay. And then to create a new one, that's the \n.
\n or O.
And
I don't know which one it is. I can't remember.
So it's menu driven and path.
No, it's menu driven, going down the tree like this, or it's transaction code driven. And remember, I told you, it will always have a what? A menu path. Whether it has a transaction code or not will depend on the task. And you will see that when we're working in the back end. A lot of the back end transactions, some of them do not have, do not have a menu path. It doesn't have a transaction code. You have to go through the menu path.
And then what's the difference between \n and \o? I think
N is, I think \n says close and create a new one.
Yes.
Or an O means open another one in another area. So that's where you have up to 6.
Okay.
Okay?
So N is close the current one and open up the new
Yeah,
one.
but
And then,
I tend to lie a bit, so you might want to investigate
that's
that.
\n is to end the current transaction. \n. That's what it does.
Okay.
\I to close the current session.
I'll check it for you, but I just don't want to steer you wrong. I know one of the, what you need to know is \n, \o, \I is to log out, you know, and you can only open up to 6 sessions, depending on the system administrator. They can give you 8, but most of the time I've only seen 6. Any other question?
I want to see which transaction.
/O generate the session list.
How do I do that?
You have to go into SE16, table SE16, that transaction code is TSTC. You're a bit too okay, hold on, sir, hold on. You're a bit too technical.
That's the way I am.
Yeah, I understand that, but this is not a technical.
I'm just trying to understand how do you say close, open,
They
whatever.
say in an additional session, enter 0xx or
Sections.
3x.
Okay,
And the
that's what I'm
transaction
saying.
bar.
When you say
What is that
sessions
called?
are active, oh, okay, I apologize. I see what you're saying. If you go up here, you see that? You see that system? You see this thing in the bracket? It says
No, she
only
just
one
giving
session is
a
active.
code.
So if I open up another session, like, right, let me do this. Let me go back up here. here and I
No, you
say,
were saying something about it.
open up another session, okay? And I say MMB.
Wasn't here the first and second day.
Available in the system. If I go back up here, it says 2 sessions open.
So that always gives us the status.
So you
of
will
where we
always, your status line will tell you what the system is, what system you're in, the number of sessions, the client. Then it gives you the client, then it gives you the user, the person who is using it. If it was in the real business world, it will give you my user ID. We call it a 2x4. Do you understand what I'm saying? But because this is a learning environment, it just gives you. We just call it a 2x4. Your user, your initial, and your last name. Okay, but here, because we are in a learning environment, it just says learning 01. In the real world, it will give you your username, your, what is it called? Your 2x4. So it's either your initials and your last 4 digits of your last name. Yeah. Okay. Then this is the program that is running. This is the transaction to access that that is accessed. This is all basis here. All this information is basis. So if we have what we call like a runtime error overflow or dumping or whatever, they can read it here and understand what all that stuff is. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we can go in here and I say system, and I want to, let's say for example, I am always going to be using the same purchasing organization or the same whatever. I can put it in the system where I don't have to be entering that information all the time. She talked to you about PIDs.
About who?
Parameter IDs. Okay.
No.
Let's go back. Let me go back, green arrow back here. I want to create a purchase order. Transaction code is ME21N. Enter. Okay? I want to use purchasing organization. The same purchasing organization I'm always going to be using. That is what? US00. You guys watch me.
That's a
US00.
transition code.
Okay. I need to find. Oh, wait. I need to find out if there is a PID. What is a PID? It is a parameter ID. Okay? Not every field has a PID. But how do I know which field has a PID? I will go in here. Everybody go into transaction code ME21N. Put your cursor in purchasing organization field. ME21N. Command field ME21N. Put your cursor in the field that says purchasing organization. ME on the command field. In the command field, you know where that is? Here. ME21N. Did it happen? ME21N.
And that's in the header section and then under report data.
Why do you think it doesn't happen? Because you're in a task already. You are in business workplace. So green arrow back out. Or put a /N. Now it is ME21N. Enter. Now it should work. Okay, does that make sense? So once you're in a task, you cannot put in ME21N in a task. You have to put /N, /O, or green arrow back. Okay? Yeah. So now, open up your header, because that's where we're going to in the document. Open up the header document here. Now, close this. Now, go to the organizational data. Everybody in the ME21N header, organizational data. Okay, organizational data. Okay, purchasing organization. Everybody in there? Put your cursor in purchasing organization, that field. Hit F1. Okay, now you see that thing that has a wrench and a hammer? That equals to F9. Yes, exactly. Hit F9. No, you have to put your cursor in there. Okay, now, no, you're already, you're not in a task, so take out that backslash. Okay, now hit enter. Okay, put F1, 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 take that out, F1, okay. Now, this is equal to F9, so double click that, no, that one. Okay, so now we're in F1, F9, okay? So I say F1, okay? Then I say F9, this is equal to F9 here. This is your technical information. Okay. I am looking for the field that says paid, parameter ID. This is it here, parameter ID. You see that? That paid number is EKO. So now, Control C, okay, EKO, get out of here,
So exit out again.
okay, now, go to System, User Profile, Own Data, okay, now go to the tab that says Parameters, okay, now put in that parameter ID here, Control C, Control V, okay?
Put it where?
At the bottom, the next available, everything else is gray.
Oh, right here.
Okay?
And then just paste it.
Now put in what is the parameter value. We said what? US00. That's the purchasing organization, right, guys? Once you hit enter, what does the system go do? It goes into the tables, validates. Is there a parameter ID EKO? If yes, check that table to see whether that table has what? US00. If yes, pull it forth. It will pull it forth. You see it here. Okay? Purchasing organization. You see that? It pulls it forth. Once you save it, and you go in and put in another parameter ID, it will arrange it according to hierarchy.
For now, okay, so do that, you're in there, you look at the parameter ID. You get out and go back to
System, user profile, own data, because I'm trying to make my entries, I don't want to, too much, I'm trying to make it efficient. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every time I'm going to be working in SAP, I'm going to be using the American Purchasing Organization, so that every time I get into a field within a task that asks for purchasing organization, the system will automatically default US00 based on what I put in here. Does that make sense? So I hit enter, I save the sucker, this is your save button, and then I get out of there. And then I activate it, and after that, all I need to do when I'm creating any document, that field will default. Anywhere, any document that asks for purchasing organization, it will default that to US00. Now, can I change it? Yes. Does that make sense? Remember, it is not every field that has a PID. Okay? Let me say, I go back again, I say ME21N, enter. I say vendor. Does this have a PID? What do I do? F1. What do I do? F9. Okay? You see here that what? It does not have a PID. So I can't put that in there. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So if we are looking for a page for a particular field, you have to put in F1 and F9. What is a PID? It just makes my entries, how do I say, it just makes, minimizes the number, entries that I put in there to make sure that it is, I'm not making a mistake. Does that make sense? Now,
Say that again?
Yeah.
No, just repeat. I didn't hear
I'm
you.
trying to repeat it in a way that makes sense to
Okay.
you and to me, because what I said didn't make sense to me either. So, well, when you are looking, it is not every field that has a page.
Okay. But that's how I find one, by doing F1
You
and then
put your
F1.
cursor in the field that you're trying to look for.
Right.
It's F1, it's F9. Then if it has a page, it will give you that page. It's usually a 3-digit alpha key. Okay? Then you take that and go into System, User Profile, Own Data. You are trying to set up your data of things that you are going to be commonly using.
Okay.
So that it doesn't, you don't have to keep entry. That's all it does.
So it's almost like a shortcut.
It is almost like, yeah, just data, fast entry, fast data entry, yeah.
So once you put it in you put in the own data for EKO, the parameter, so every time that field comes up, it's gonna already put in US 00.
It's always going to put in US 00.
It's already generated.
Yeah. Let's look at this. Let's say, let me get out of here. Okay, let me get out of here. Let's say company code. Okay? F1, F9. It has a parameter ID.
There it is.
BUK. Okay, so now let me Control-C this, get out of here. Let me see what the options are there for company code. It says US 00, right? I want to make sure I get it right. So I get out of here. I go to System, User Profile, Own Data. Okay. I go to the parameter ID here. Right. Okay. I put in what? My
what it was.
What it was.
You copied.
You see now that EKO has readjusted itself. Yes. It is doing it according to hierarchy. Okay. So if I say here Control-V, okay, and I say here it's what? US 00, I hit enter, it's going to pull it, say company code, okay. Once I save it, okay, and I come back to it, it is going to arrange it according to hierarchy,
like the other, like it did the other.
User profile, own data. Then I come here to, where is it? Oh, let me see. ME21N. I hit enter.
What the system stop?
Is there something wrong with the system? Anyway, it will arrange itself according to hierarchy. Do you understand that? Okay. Yeah, so let me see why this thing is doing this. Enter. Okay. Come on. Let me see this. ME21N. Not even allowing me to put it in.
Oh, you have something. What is that there at the bottom? Has changed, but the user learned 12 has changed. What is it? In your
mine that keeps coming up with me, and I have to click it to make it go away.
So EKO is the last thing I put in. When I get out and do something else, automatically puts it to the top.
It will arrange it according to hierarchy.
Hierarchy,
like you will see that when we start building our plant and company code, because you must have a company code before you have a plant. Yeah. So it will arrange, the company code becomes the first thing, and then that purchasing organization becomes the next thing. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Now, if you go in here, it will arrange it according to hierarchy. Okay? So now, if I go in here, let me go back again. System, user profile, own data. Okay? Default here, you have to set your default because you have to set it according to the country. Okay? So I say, you see how this is set up?
Yeah.
This is Dutch. This is German. You use the comma period. We're in America, so every time you do, you put in numbers in your system, it's going to set it up like this. So you set it up according to the American way of doing things, which is what? 0.89. You set that up. Your date format, month, day, year. How do we do ours? Month, day, year. In my country, it is day, month, year. So if the system is in Nigeria, that's how we're going to have to set it up. Then you have the Japanese, you have the Islamic, you have the Iran. Those are country specific, okay? Then you set up your format. Do you want it military time? How do you want it? Military time, 12, 24 hours, 12 hours, however you want it, it's set up. Okay. That works for you, okay? And then your printing output device, you want it to print locally, okay? So that's what it means here. You want it to print now or what? Delete after it's printed, okay? And then the time zone, you put in the time zone in there.
Okay. On the output device, I can click out there, it will list all of the available output devices.
It will list all of the available output devices. Remembering that this is what? A testing environment. So it will not have all that stuff. So if you are in the real business, and you have a printer here, and the printer sitting next to you here, you do it local, but you map it to that printer.
Right.
Okay, local, then you map.
So the time zone will be wherever time zone you're in?
Wherever time zone that you're in. So if I was in England, it's a different time zone.
Right.
Okay, does that make sense? It has to mimic your work environment. So you set all that up. So sometimes you might go there, the person may have set it up for you. Other times you just have to set it up yourself. But this is where this area controls the whole system. Okay, now if you are in the real world, right, this here address here will give you the correct information. Your title, your name, your first name, your, the languages you speak. If I'm looking for you, where to find you, in which building, if you are in an SAP building 1, office, whatever, all this information is there. Your telephone number, how to, so if somebody is saying, do you know of a Tinu Soyibo? All they have to do is go into transaction code SU01, put in my last name, and it will pop it up, coming here to look for the information. Okay? This is a training environment.
This only on me. This is not like if I'm looking for somebody else.
If you are looking for somebody else, then you open up a new session. Okay? You say SU01.
That's it. Okay.
Enter.
I see it.
That's what it allows you. Says you're not authorized.
Yeah.
Then you put the person's 2x4 or the person's last name, and it will pull up that person. If there's more than one show, but it will pull up all the 4. Then you pick the one you want. Let's say you're trying to call somebody and you don't know their phone number. Instead of going to the receptionist, the main receptionist, you can pull up that person's information. Okay? Please bear in mind that this is a testing training environment. In the real world, and we're going to look at that next tomorrow, right? All these things will be properly set up. Okay, but because this is a testing environment, a lot of these things are not there. Right. But the idea of this whole class is for you to know where to look for what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay? Any questions? Any questions? Now, let's go back to looking at this thing here. I said here, I wanted to add favorites, okay? If I go up again to favorites here, I can say I want to add a folder.
Right.
Or I can say I want to add other objects. What is add other objects? Let's look at what that looks like. I want to add a web address or a file. You can add any one of these things here. I say double click it. What is the text? I say I want to add CNN because I want them to think I'm working while I'm reading the newspaper, right? So what do I do? Web address file, I say www.cnn.what.com.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I hit enter. It will now create the URL for me. I double click that, allow it, and it will take me to CNN.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How do I get there again?
Wait a minute, okay, let me go back.
When she made us,
Zombie Daniels, the soup got thrown out. Ooh.
You know, Paul Allen died.
you know, when she made us do that URL, when we had to add it to our web page.
Yeah, or you can add SAP help.
See that? Look, to the far right.
What's wrong?
Oh, he
Paul
died?
Allen passed away.
Who died?
Co-founder of Microsoft, one of the big three.
Well, I don't have shares yet, so I don't worry. I like this juicy one. I like the juicy one. Stop Daniels.
So can you get back to, from the, where we started
Oh,
from to get to
man.
where?
Okay,
you're
hold
at
on.
now?
I have
I'm
to.
sorry.
I cannot see here, so please forgive me. I don't.
So the system.
Okay,
You
so
remember when we create the URL, put it in a website, and you have it on your favorites right now? You see,
Yeah.
on the favorites, your URL? You remember when we
Okay.
had that web?
this is where you
Okay,
go.
here it is. See?
Favorites,
Favorites.
add other objects. Okay, and I can say a web address here. I can take what is it called? Is it SAP help? www.saphelp. I think that's what it is. .com.
I think there's a dot between the SAP. Yeah.
Okay, then I say SAP. Okay, then I hit enter. Okay, URL for SAP.
Okay.
Okay, you can do anything that is allowable here.
And then you click
I
on
can
it.
create a folder. I can create a Fiori, web client, all these crazy one things here. Okay, but you can add URL. You can do whatever is allowable here. Crystal reporting, WebEx, and all those kinds of things. Okay.
That is so cool.
Any questions? So then I come in here and I say, let me get out of here. And then I say extras, okay? I can say, if I want to start a new transaction, okay? And I want to drop it onto my, onto my page, okay? I can say, yes, what is it, settings? No, not here, I'm sorry. Extras, start transaction, I say ME whatever. If I do ME whatever right here, right, as soon as I log into the system, instead of it to take me to the front page, it's just always going to take me to whatever transaction I put in here.
Okay.
So you don't have.
And then I can create it onto my my desktop too if I want to do that.
So, okay.
So like you leave out work and you want to do it in the morning as soon as you get back?
Yes. So let's say every
Sit down.
morning I run something or do something, I can always say start with that transaction. Okay? And then I can actually take it and then say create shortcut onto my desktop.
But when you leave at the end of the day, you just says, okay, you're saving that transaction.
No, once you leave it at the end of the day and you come back next month, next year, it's going to start at that transaction.
Okay, so you don't have to save it?
No,
Yes,
that
yes,
everything.
yes.
Oh, so
That's a very good question. If you want anything to be put onto your tables, you must save it. Save is the instruction like save onto the appropriate table. If you don't save it, it's not going to save. So when you're creating a purchase order, I said, I created a purchase order. Did you save it? I forgot.
So, I'm sorry, you were going fast. How do I get to that right there?
Extra.
Making my changes on my website.
Extras, start transaction.
Extras,
And set start transaction.
start, transaction.
Yes.
Okay.
This is shifts.
Okay. So,
Shift F7.
So that's kind of like setting your home page type of thing?
yes.
Okay.
Instead of it opening up to this SAP Easy Access, which is your
Yeah,
open
open up
to
to
the
the-
transaction
Okay.
that okay. Okay. What else? You can go into like if you want to go into to see emails and stuff like that, inbox or whatever you can go into your inbox here. You can go into your outbox. That if you need things to be approved, like let's say you want to approve a purchase order or whatever, it usually will come into your inbox, and then it will. If workflow is triggered, it will allow you to approve it for it to go on its merry way. Okay. Does that make sense?
So whatever in your inbox.
Yes, you can put it in your inbox. It says unread documents, if you have workflow, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, our box is to tell you started whatever you need to do to be set up.
It also gives you how many that you have in there.
Yes.
In there, so
Yes.
you know what you need to do.
Yes.
Something like Outlook.
It's almost like Outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. You can set up your appointments. You can set up distribution lists. I mean, this is just crazy. Yes, sir.
So this is like a separate module from the,
No, this comes with SAP
Oh, it
Vanilla
comes
out
with-
of the box. Yes.
okay.
Now, if you want workflow has to be set up. That's a module that has to be set up. That workflow is approval, going through the, saying, hey, you need to approve this, and it will go through workflow to your inbox.
Oh, okay, that's a workflow. That's how workflow works.
So I can put in different documents and files.
Yes, whatever you want to do, and however it floats your boat. If it's not what you like, don't save it. Get out of it. Okay? So you see how wide this thing is. We haven't even started talking about MM. We're just trying to navigate to get to know where we are and to understand what it is we're trying to do. Okay? Any questions? Okay. So what is this here? You see here it says create shortcut to desktop. You see this?
Under.
So if I go in there and I say it says position cursor in the menu. So if I say logistics,
Control F3.
materials management, this purchase order, create vendor known, okay, and I say here edit, create shortcut. It should place. I already did that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Edit, create shortcut to menu tree. It says. Let me say allow. Okay, so if I come back in here all the time, I can't see.
You won't see that there.
Okay, so let me green arrow back out of here. System, what do I say? End session.
Can't see what you're doing at the very top.
Yes, that's the problem. So let me green arrow out of here. Let me what? Arrow up, okay? Arrow up.
Not editing.
So if I come back in here to my desktop, which is here, it should have vendor supply. You see it here? And if I double click it here, it will go straight to that transaction that I said create desktop.
Yeah.
Just like your log on.
Yes. Okay, any questions?
And that's from where you're doing an edit and you create a shortcut on your desktop, is that where you?
Yes, edit, yes.
Okay.
That's, you just putting whatever you want on your desktop.
Yes.
However you want to set it up, if you want to
Yes.
set up a file or whatever, that's a folder or whatever.
And
You
that's
want
just
to go
easy
straight from your.
access to where
Yeah.
you're gonna get to.
You don't have to go through,
The whole,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
You just click
Okay.
right there.
yes.
Any questions?
That was good.
Okay, remember that your friend is your status line, okay? This is where you read error messages, it tells you what to do. Sometimes when you have an error message and you double click it, right, it will tell you what it is that is wrong. Now, if you double click it and then you look down and it says proceed in blue, if you double click that proceed, it will take you to exactly where you need to make that change.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Oh.
I know there's always a catch. Sometimes, not all the time.
Okay.
Now, if you get here and there's an error message and you double click it and you still don't understand what it is, the error message, take the error message itself, right? Control C and dump it into Google.
Okay. And then
Somebody has seen that message before. Like I told you initially, it is up to you to decipher which is the true one and which is the false one.
So double say, wherever the error message is.
Yes.
And go up to.
Google. She talking about you put it in your.
Oh, copy it and
And
put it into
put
Google.
it into Google. And we're going to do that a lot.
Okay.
Okay?
Gotcha.
Now, during the course of this class, we're going to do an actual implementation.
Okay.
You guys are going to, and I'll show you the work that the other students have done,
Okay.
which is just mind-blowing, okay? You're going to actually sit down, come up with the consulting name,
Okay.
okay? And then I'm going to start to divvy up the work. When we do master data, I'm going to say, okay, these are the things in master data. I want you to go to do research and make me a presentation, PowerPoint presentation, slides. You're going to be dressed on that day because we're going to have people coming to look at you. People have gotten jobs just from presentations in this class.
Okay.
Okay? So it's not a joke. You are going to come in properly dressed, properly presented, okay? And we go from there. So that once you finished and you are looking for a job, that is the consulting company that you're going to put on your resume, because that is where you have done your implementation. Does that make sense? Some people say, you know, they're the personal assistant to Peter in heaven. I don't want to do that. It's not whatever. I am telling you, okay, that you will not have as much knowledge and exposure as you will have doing these things. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's up to you, because I know some of you are PAs to God Almighty. But you need to do what you need to do to get to where you are going. Okay? Nobody's going to sit down there and tell you, I don't care if you pass the exam. I have trained people who have passed the exam. They're just timid to go for an interview.
Wow. Oh.
I can name 2 or 3 people that I have taught in this class. They are timid. They don't, you know, and this just gives you the confidence. You learn the tips and the trade. You learn that even if you don't know something, you don't tell them you don't know. That's a big no-no. Oh, that's a very interesting, because I'm just going to be throwing the questions at you. If you're making a presentation to me, you better be ready, because I am ready. And if I tell you, okay, why, you don't tell me you don't know. You have to tell me that you're going to do the research, and you do the research. And then what happens is that once everybody has done, like if I say material, master data, somebody's going to be responsible for the material, somebody's going to be responsible for the vendor master, someone is going to, so, and then you all come together and we sit down and we present. Then we put that into a book form. And then at the end of the class, everybody will have a copy of that book, because one day it's going to come when you're going to try to access the system and you're not going to have access. Because the system is only here for a certain number of months. Do you understand what I'm saying? Then they cleanse it and then they get ready for the next step. Now, depending on how well you have done your manual, you know, with the slides, the screenshots, that's what's going to save you help you during times of interviews.
This is all after we.
This is in between the class.
Oh, in between.
As we finish one section, you do it. Okay? Then we will look at it, we review, we will critique it. And then once we finish another section, you do it. We review it, we critique it, then we add it to the first one that we critique, so that by the end of the class, you have a whole implementation cycle with you to take home. Okay? It now depends on how well you do it. I'm not going to sit down there and say time out to do it or time out to don't do it. It's up to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I have noticed that the people who have done well, who have excelled, who have gone on to get, you know, better things, are the ones who have sat down and done it. And I'm not saying regurgitate to me what I have given you. I am saying do the work, do the research. Okay, I know, we wrote the book, so I know what is in there.
And we're going to do it as a whole class?
You are going to do it as a whole class. You're going to be working with each other. There are sometimes I will give you like a whole day. I say, okay, you know, this day I'm sitting here. If you need help, I'm here. Start working on your project. That is your implementation cycle. That is one implementation cycle. Okay, how many people are online?
Online on the screen?
Yes. How many students do we have that are usually online?
They should be, right now we have Aubrey and Amanda. they're
That's the
watching
two
it
sit right
and
there.
typing.
They usually sit right here
Okay.
when they hear.
Carla,
How many
She
people are
was
just
there.
coming to the class online that are not coming into class? Do you know?
I think it's just whenever they
Well, you
can't
have
make it,
Yolanda
they look at
and
it
then
online.
her,
Okay.
and them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's one lady that she has, I think she's mostly online because she has a child that's disabled. So she's going to,
Okay,
she does allow it online. I think
Okay.
she did one day.
okay.
Yeah, because it's usually Yolanda and
Aubrey,
Aubrey.
Amanda.
and Amanda
Okay. Okay.
and
So
maybe
I'm
them
here all
two.
the time.
Okay. Now, does everybody understand what I have said so far?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
let me see what else I need to go.
I'm going to sit with you, sir, later on to walk you through the process again. Okay, and that is going to be between me and you. Okay, so I'm going to have to schedule a time. And if anybody wants to come in and sit in, you're more than welcome to do it. But I need to get him up to speed because he just started today, and I don't want to lose him.
When do you think do that?
I'm going to see. Well, it depends on how much wine I have today. But if I'm gonna have to see, it has to be when it's convenient for him. But it has to be sometime during this week because I'm not going to wait.
Mhm.
Do you understand what I'm saying
Yeah.
to you? You know, so when it's convenient for you, you let me know, okay? And then we can go through this again. Now, if anybody in class feels as if they need to go through this again, you are more than welcome to sit in here. But my focus is on him because I know you guys were here when Star was here, and I know that she
I was out quite a bit because I was finishing up a project management boot camp across all 3 of those days.
How did that go? I know. Yeah.
On one day, Thursday, I did two quizzes, midterm and final.
Oh my God.
I'm too old for that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you understand what we're talking about? Okay. So now, let me, before, I don't stay here till 10. I don't. I'm just too tired.
One other thing, can I ask?
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about, like, if you're a contractor working in global teams, right? A lot of times, the global teams, like, when you work remotely, you work from home in your PC or whatever. Like, can you discuss some of the caveats there, like, you come in remotely and you're still doing your work, right? And you're doing whatever needs to be done.
You have to do the work because everybody has, you have what we call deliverables, okay? So they tell you, you know, do this, this has to be done, ETA, end of EOE, whatever, end of business day, whatever. So you have to do it. We have meetings upon meetings, we have meetings to discuss meetings. So you cannot not sit there, you can't think that because you're in your PJs, you're not going to do anything. They know, okay? And some of us, we had that sneaky habit of every 5 minutes we'll just shake the, just shake the cursor so they'll think that, you know, we're been there, done that. I mean, I'm only telling the truth, you know. But then there are ways of doing that, you know, because sometimes if you don't shake, you know, because when the last place I worked, if you don't shake the cursor in time, it goes into sleep mode.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So I mean, and then what makes this country great is that, you know, I mean, contracts are based on a handshake. So I mean, if you say you're going to do something, do it, because you find out that later on, later the S will catch up with you and they're spending long hours, you know, because you have deliverables. You know, I don't like to work from home because I'm very lazy. You know, and then that knowledge transfer is not there when you're working from home. Number one. Number two,
You're not getting.
you're not getting the help you need.
Yeah.
And I just don't, you know, I just don't, because I'm so into CNN these days. I like to see what my president is doing. He's my favorite guy. You know, so I just don't like to work from home. I mean, sometimes I will work from home, but not. I can't work from home constantly and permanently, because I know I will not be my best, and I know I'm not learning. Really, actually.
Y'all learn from different people and talking and listening.
Okay.
And then at home, you got distractions. And
Yes, you do. You do. So, I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I'm sorry because I really thought that this would, but I'm going to go ahead and send the email out to everybody.
Okay.
So that you can see what it is I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to look at MM. We're going to look at the integration points with MM. Then we're going to take a deep dive into materials management. Okay, and let me see if I can get my. We're going to take a deep dive into materials management. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to look at the importance of MM as a core module in supply chain management and logistics. And then we're going to define logistics in SAP. That's the first thing, okay? Week number 1, we have like 14 weeks, okay? Or 13 weeks or something like that. We're going to break this down, and the first part of our course, we're going to look at the SAP methodology, okay? When we talk about the methodology, we look at the as-is, the way the system is working, the to-be, the proposal of what SAP is able to provide, okay? That's what we call the SAP methodology. Then we're going to look at the realization, then we're going to look at the cutover, and then we're going to look at go live. Okay, that's what we're going to look at tomorrow. Okay, don't write this down because it's just going to confuse you because you don't know what I'm talking about. Let me explain it to you first before. It's not everything you write down. Okay.
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 Only when you say write down do we write it down.
No, if it's important, I will tell you. Okay. So we're going to our business scenario. Like I said, we're going to do the introduction, and I've already told you that SAP is made up of nothing more than what? Data and configuration. Okay? So the approach is to break them down in terms of appropriate transaction codes, document types, item categories where applicable. Okay? We will also be examining the resultant tables. Okay? How to find those tables and how we can autofill certain fields using PID. We've already done that. Okay?
Those tables you're going to send to us?
Those tables, I will send it to you. I will send those tables to you, and so that you can look at them. Okay? My approach in this class is I'm going to teach before I give you the handouts. What I notice is that a lot of people, while I'm teaching, they're reading the handouts. And then you're asking me the question that I just answered 2 seconds ago because you're reading the handouts. So let me teach it, pass you the handout, you read it over the evening, and if you have any questions, we will go through them. Right now, I can, we are not crunched for time, so I can explain stuff to you further. Bearing in mind that this is a 14-week course, if you keep me at chapter 2 for 4 weeks, then those are not the most important chapters. Okay? We're going to be running through the most important ones, and it's not going to be easy. So try to limit I'm not saying limit, I'm just saying that if you have questions or answers, email that to me. We can talk about that. Okay? And if it's important for the class to know, then I will bring it up again in class. Okay? So my email address is T as in Tom, F as in Francis, SOYEBO @yahoo.com. Okay?
Is that TL?
T as in Tom, T as in Tinu, F as in Francis.
Okay.
Okay? So
It's a YEBO.
EBO. I'm going to be corresponding to you via my email. Okay? There's something here that they call flock.
No.
I really don't know how to use that, and I didn't like it. So I'm just going to correspond with email.
By email.
Now, my pet peeve is that if you're not going to be able to come to class, I understand that because sometimes I can't come to class. Okay? I want to be told well in advance so that I know how to structure the class so that you're not missing too much. Okay? I am respectful to you. if I can call and say, I'm not going to be able to make it, even if it's an hour, because I have children, okay, I have a husband, and I have a dog, and each one has his own individual needs, okay? So if I'm not going to be able to make it, I will tell you, please, I'm not going to be able to make it, and I will always have a makeup class. I expect that same courtesy to me. If you're not going to be able to make it, even if you're in traffic, and you say the traffic is whatever, I understand these things happen, but for you not to call, not to tell me, and then you come into class and say, oh, I wasn't here yesterday, that's your business.
Yeah.
Okay, you can either get the thing and listen to that recording or whatever.
What they be doing? They just be on online?
Yeah, they're watching online.
Okay?
So.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I will give you my phone number too, but please, don't abuse it. I won't even answer to the phone goes off at when I'm watching snaps, unless you want me to snap on you.
She said she watching it now.
Okay, so that's my number. Okay, please, if you have any questions, any issues, any comments, please. I have no problem with you calling me. Now the question is that will I respond? That's the most important question. I will try. I usually do. You know, sometimes even in church, if the sermon is boring, I will answer. You know, but you know, just be cognizant that that's my number. Okay. So if you need anything,
just email you first.
No, I mean I don't mind which way you do it. Okay. Right. I try to answer. I try to get to everybody, and if you're asking me a question that's pertaining to something in class and I feel that the whole class will gain from it, I will bring it up in class. Now, most of the time when you ask me a question, I say, you know what, let me get back to you on it. If I don't get back the next day, please remind me, because this is not only my, you know, just, hey, Ms. Tina, did you ever get to look at this thing? And I will tell you, if I did, I will tell you. If I didn't, I will lie. So, that I did, but I still haven't gotten the answer, okay? So, just let me know, because it's not as if I intentionally, you know, but by the time we get home at 9, 10, I just,
and everybody will probably actually fit the day.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to do this together, and we're going to succeed together, okay? You bring in your 80, I will bring my own 30, and if I like you enough, I might bring 35, but that's all I'm bringing. I'm not bringing more than 35, so we can have like 105, 5% tolerance to play with, okay? But I'm expecting you people to do your own share, okay? Because this is what the work, the real work is like. You're on a project, you're all going to sit like this, okay? Bouncing ideas to each other, so don't expect you're going to get an office with a door. Hell no, I haven't gotten one yet, and I've been doing it for over 18 years, okay? You sit like this, and this is how you learn. Please realize that the person next to you or across from you is your best friend. I am not your friend. You know why? Because I'm just discussing the knowledge, okay? And I'm not looking for a job. Does that make sense? You guys are looking for the job. So if you hear anything, you see anything, okay? Try to tell people. That's the beauty of the class that I had before. They always told, they always went, and they were helping each other. And I've never really taught a class here where people were very selfish. No, okay? Because what is yours. No matter whatever happens, you're going to get it if it is yours.
Correct.
Does that make sense? So try to help each other. You know, sometimes when the class is full and, you know, I can't get to everybody. So if you see your neighbor struggling, okay, try to help her, because if you don't help her, I'm going to go there and help her. And if it takes 5-10 minutes, then it takes 5-10 minutes. Does that make sense? Are we understanding and getting each other? So that, and then again, before we actually start getting into the class, I like to apologize for any foul thing, any curses that come out of my mouth. Because it's going to come, because you're just going to irritate me, and you're going to annoy me. Okay? Because I know you guys know, but you just want to be spoon-fed. And remember, I told you at the beginning, this is not typing 101. So you need to be able to come in here. All I'm asking is 14 weeks. I'm sure half of you are over 30. I'm only asking for 14 weeks out of your life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do it. We got to get you to a place where you are comfortable.
Okay.
Even if you lie with confidence, so that the interviewers will be looking and say, okay, well, that must be a new thing. They don't know you don't know what you're talking about. I've been there, and I've done it before. I've done it before. They look and say, that must be a new thing. You know that kind. By the time they realize it's not a new thing, they've offered me the job. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have fun together. We're going to be angry with each other. I'm the only one that is allowed to walk out of the class.
Yeah,
Okay. And if once you see me packing my bags, it's time to leave. Because I'm the only one that has the key to the gate. And once I've gone, then the rest of you have to jump over or fly through or something like that. Because once I'm done, I'm done. So once you see, I had a student, she was like a bag lady. So I always tell her, I said 15 minutes. I said, start packing your stuff. Everybody just starts laughing because even though I said start packing your stuff 15 minutes before the class, she is the last one. Oh, strolling. And I said, you know, so
The gate closes after you leave?
I open and close the gate.
Okay.
Did she leave the keys with
Yes, she did. That's why I'm telling you that I control the gate. So if you're not standing waiting for me at the gate, then you better bring your sleeping bag because I'm not coming back.
Can I go to the restroom before you leave?
Well, I would start yes.
That's a long drive.
So any questions so far?
I spell your name.
My name, which part of it?
I don't know. First name, last name.
Tinu, I already wrote that down. Didn't I write that before?
No.
T, I did.
I didn't write it down.
Okay, Tinu, Shoyebo.
Oh,
Soyebo, Shoyebo. Okay.
I got it. So you're Igbo?
What's on?
You're Igbo.
No, not Igbo.
So evil.
Shoyebo. Is that me? Am I from the Igbo tribe?
Like,
No, I'm Yoruba.
You're Yoruba, huh?
Okay. So, any questions?
I go
Well, I
home
guess-
and
just-
write about after I look through all my stuff.
So let's say if we're helping each other, like, are you gonna get mad if we like whisper too loud on
No,
accident?
once you hear me say, I'll wait,
Okay.
that means you need it.
No, is that a mad or is that like a?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what, I will be mad tomorrow, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, if you're mad, you're
No,
mad.
no,
I just
I'm not.
want to make sure that I'm not, causing
No,
it on
if we are
purpose.
helping each other, it's all good. We're all here to help each other and pull each
Okay.
other up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like the army, no man or no whatever left behind. You don't want to leave because that's all it's going to drag us back, okay? So let's go ahead. So we're going to look at the organizational structure as it relates to material management. I'm reading this from the handout, okay, so you don't know. So we're going to look at the plant. We're going to look at the purchasing organization. We're going to look at the storage locations and the purchasing groups. That's what we are responsible for in NM.
Okay.
Okay? So the plant, the purchasing organization, the storage location, and the purchasing group. That is our organizational structure. Okay? After we've done the organizational structure, we're going to do a little project presentation of that. Okay? After we've done that, we've reviewed the documentation. We're now going to move on to the master data.
Okay, yeah.
We're going to define the master data. We're going to look at the applicable tables, and then we're going to look at the importance of the item category in some of the master data. Okay, actually that's wrong. Your item category comes in the, what is it called? In the transactional. So we're going to look at the definition, the tables. Okay, when we're talking about the master data, we're going to talk about the material master record. Every material that is going to go into inventory must have a record. Because that is how we call that material.
Mhm.
Every material that is going to go into inventory must have a record. Does that mean that every material must have a record? No. Materials that we call consumables, which is materials that you use, right, immediately, those are not going into the into storage, right, guys? So if Christine comes and says, Tinu, please order me 10 reams of paper, okay, for that copy machine. When I get it, I'm putting it in the copy machine for use, for consumption. I'm not putting it into a storage location, So there's a difference between consumables and inventory managed material. Okay? Then we have the vendor master.
Yes.
Every vendor that we're going to use in the system must have a vendor master record. Every vendor. Your material master record is a record that is managed by us, but every other module must input the data in it. Okay, we control it, but if it has an SD component, then the SD guy has to fill in that data. If it has a PP component production, then the PP guy has to fill in that data. Okay, they're called views. Okay. When we talk about the vendor master record, we're talking about every vendor, even if it's a vendor that we use once every 150 years, they must have a vendor master record. Because that's how we know the vendor, that's how we know how he wants to be paid, when he wants to be paid, in what currency he wants to be paid, what type of vendor he is. Everything. This vendor master record I'm going to be talking about is the relationship between materials management, and FI. We, and FI, control that master data.
What is it?
Finance, it's a module. Just like is a module, FIC or finance and controlling is a module. ST, sales and distribution, is a module. WHM, warehouse management, is a sub-module within Okay, we're going to look at all that tomorrow. Then we're going to talk about the purchasing info record. That is the relationship between a material and a vendor. Okay, then we'll look at a source list. That is the allowable sources of supply. Source list. Allowable sources of supply. What vendors can supply this material for what plants? For this plant. Okay. Okay? Then we're going to look at quota arrangement. What is a quota arrangement? I have 4 vendors that can supply me with the chairs. Okay? In my system, they already have a vendor master record. How do I do it where each one can supply me? Let's say I have 1,000 chairs that I want to be supplied. I have 4 vendors. How do I do it where those vendors can participate in supplying that material for me? So if I have 1,000 chairs, right, guys, and I have 4 vendors, right, guys? So what does that mean? That each vendor will do 250, right, guys? And once it gets to 250, the system knows to pick up the next vendor, the next vendor, the next vendor. So each vendor has an equal opportunity of supply, and based on the way they supply, we can tier those vendors. When I say tier, I'm saying that if a vendor is an excellent vendor, good customer service, supplies on time, if I ask for chairs, it doesn't give me some tables in there, we tier them vendor 1, vendor 2, vendor 3, vendor 4, okay, and so on and so forth. This vendor 1 vendor, we can do what we call a 2-way match. S&P normally says that we have a 3-way match, right, guys? Purchase order, goods received, and invoicing. Right. If your vendor is a tier 1 vendor, I can say, once you do the purchase order, give me the invoice, I will pay. I don't have to wait for the goods receipt. Okay, this usually happens with their sister companies, maybe like Shell Oil dealing with Shell Lubricants, because they're same mother, same father, same DNA. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if there's any kind of error, they will sort it out in the end. Okay, this tier 2, tier 3, when you start getting to tier 3 and tier 4, then that purchase order, goods receipt, and invoice, it must match for us to pay. So this tier 1 vendor, when we set him up, we set him up with a 2-way match, not a 3-way match. And so we're going to look at all those ramifications and repercussions when it comes to, yes, you have a question?
No, not a question. I actually have seen that, and I was just puzzled that I don't know what. I'm like, why is it that I didn't have to wait on this for
Yes,
them to be
because of the
paid?
way we set up that vendor with the vendor master record,
Yeah.
instead of flagging him as a three-way match, we flagged him as a what? As a two-way
Two-way
match,
match.
so we don't need to wait for the goods. We pay
Yes.
once he gives us the invoice.
That is so unfair. I didn't know
No,
what was
it's
going on.
Based on tiering,
Yeah,
that's
I
a tier
see.
one vendor.
I see
Okay.
now.
So then we will look at, what else did we talk about? Then we're going to look at outline agreements. What is an outline agreement? An outline agreement is, we have two types. One is a contract, one is a scheduling agreement. I like to define an outline agreement as something that is like a purchase order, but it has a validity period. It has a beginning and an end. Okay? Your purchase order has no beginning, has no end. Okay? So when I say I am looking at a outline agreement, there are two types. There's a contract and there's a scheduling agreement. Then there are two types of contracts. Value contract, that's the dollar amount, and quantity contract. That is like supply me with 100 shares. The value is supply me with $500,000 worth of shares. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a difference. How do we demarcate that? By what we call the document type. Okay, we're going to look at that. Then a scheduling agreement is really and truly almost like a contract, but the difference between a scheduling agreement and a contract is that the scheduling agreement has delivery lines against it. So if I say I need 400 shares, okay, my warehouse cannot take 400. So I say on Monday, supply 4, Tuesday, supply 10 until the 400 is exhausted. So that's what your scheduling agreements are. And those also are determined by what? The document type. So when we're going to be looking at master data, we're going to divide that into two broad categories: time dependent and time independent. Time independent is that time is of no importance. So what does that mean? The validity period, beginning and an end, is not required in those documents, and you find that in a material master record and in a material master record and a vendor master record. It doesn't have a beginning and an end. It is there in the system until archiving.
Okay.
Does that make sense? The others, your source list will have a beginning and an end. Info record has a beginning and an end. Contract has a beginning and an end.
Yeah.
Okay, that is your validity period. And that validity period is usually at the header of the document. That's how important it is.
And that's for the vendor, right? Validity period for the vendor?
No, there's no validity period on the vendor, there's no validity period on the material. But each one of the other master data that I've told you about, which is source list, quota arrangement, purchasing info records, outline agreement, they all have validity periods. Okay, don't do that. You'll be fine. Honestly, I tell you, when I did this class, I did this class 3 times, I won't lie. When I first started MM, I did it 3 times. First of all, I did it with 2 Indian people, didn't understand what they were saying. I didn't understand what they were saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? I did it 3 times. I'm not saying you're going to do it 3 times. I'm just saying that just be patient. It will come together. If you come in with this, your attitude like, you're not going to give yourself time to understand it. So just be patient.
The business side of it is easy for me, but the computer part of it is what I'm like, oh.
I tell you what happened to me when I first came here the first day, I was kind of, what she was talking about, and I had to realize what I was doing, what I was here for. Just like when she came in and she explained what we're doing, SAP material management, procurement, it lets me know I'm used to doing the accounting side. Exactly. So when she was talking, I was thinking the way I work as a accountant. So when she mentioned purchase order, invoices, I'm used to what I did when I was working, not the way the procurement material management side is doing. So once I got home and they gave you, I don't know if she's gonna fax you, but Story gave us a presentation slide sheet, and I went on and I just printed it out. And once I read it and thought about pondering,
What's
thought about
it
what I
about?
was doing here.
Yeah.
And I kind of put it in order, and then today when she came in and explained, even though I had to learn it, I was telling nobody before you explain, I'm like, oh, that's what I'm here. Because at first I was looking at it, oh, well, I'm coming here to learn SAP so I can go back and work in accounting. But that's not what I'm learning here.
We're not doing SAP, that's FI, you're in the wrong class. So you might want to leave while you're ahead. Okay, you're in the wrong class. I have sat down here and I'm teaching students and I say a purchase requisition is in demand. They say, no. You're arguing with me toe to toe. Because their perception of the purchase requisition in where they work is completely different from what SAP says the purchase requisition is. You know, and I'm not going to argue with you. If I tell you it is not, and you say it is, more grease to your elbow. Okay? So, I mean, you have to, you see all that notion outside, all those things, you know, if they're not, that's why I say that if you open your mouth to talk in an interview, they know if you know what you're talking about. There's a language, and I like to call it Japanese. There is a language.
Japanese, that's pretty cool.
You cannot have somebody who did C++, A, B, decoding, whatever, to come and decode what the ABABA is doing, because that's not the program that is running SAP. Yeah. You need an ABABA who knows how to debug and code. I don't code. Yeah. I barely debug. But you know what I do? I sit between, I'm in the middle, my ABABA is here, my business analyst, the subject matter expert is here. So I'm just translating into English. We're all speaking the same language, but he said, we do this. I say, okay, hey, you. And it's usually a Raju or Ramshak or Mr. Patel. I say, Patel, do. I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. So I write my, what is it called, my functional spec. And based on that functional spec, my ABABA translates it to a technical spec. Yeah. And once that has been approved, then we can go in and do the coding. Yeah. Once we've coded, we test. Nothing goes into production without proper testing. And we do stress tests, we do regression testing, we do end-to-end, we test it. You know, if we say we're doing this program and 10,000 users are going to be on the system between 8 and 10, when we're testing for stress, we test for 20,000 users at the same time, because we don't want the program to abend or bomb. What is an abend? It's an abnormal end to something. If I say create a purchase order and it doesn't give me a document number, do you understand what I'm saying? It does something else. That's passed the test. Yeah. It hasn't passed the test. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Yes. This is just a high level overview. I don't expect you people to understand anything. I'm still the queen of the class as of now. But by 7 or 8, I'm going to be getting a lot of queries. So I also have to come prepared. And even if I'm not prepared, I will just come live. Okay? Yeah. So now, when we're looking at materials management, we're looking at materials, right? And we're looking at services. So as we look at the material master record, we're also going to look at a service master record. In our dealings in this class, we're not going to be using service and master records, but I'm going to show you where it is. I'm going to show you the important fields, because we're going to tweak the system, because we're going to use a purchase order and designate it as a we're going to designate it as a service PO. That's where we use that item category. Okay? Then once we've done that, then we start with transactional data. That is the data that we are going to put in, which is going to be validated by the configuration we created when we did the plants and everything, which is going to be validated by the master data when we did the vendor and the material. Remember when I put in Tinu and it said there's no Tinu in the system? Right. So it's going to do all that validation for us to be able to do the transactional data. And that's going to be divided into 3 parts. We're going to do purchasing, we're going to do inventory, we're going to do invoicing. In purchasing, we're going to look at your purchase requisition, we're going to look at the purchase order, we're going to look at the vendor selection, and we're going to look at some of the reports that are available in SAP. Then when we're doing inventory, we're going to look at the movement type. We're going to look at the document types. We're going to look at the follow-on function. We're going to look at the goods receipts, receiving into. We're going to look at the stock types. Then we're going to look at goods issued, receiving out of. This is where MM comes into contact with SD. Okay? Then we're going to look at stock transfers, when we're moving material from one storage location to another storage location, either under one plant or between two plants, the documents that are created. Then we're going to look at transfer posting, where we're changing the stock type of the material, not the physical, we're talking about the logical. Okay? Then we're going to look at cycle counting. How do we count? You know when you go into Walmart in the middle of the night and you see people putting those white papers?
Yes.
They're counting. They're saying what is on the ground and in our warehouse must be equal to what SAP says is in my thing. How do we count? How do we freeze? How do we recount? All that good stuff. Okay? And then after that, we're going to do invoice verification. They are going to look at the two-way match. We're going to look at the three-way match. We're going to look at the blocking reason. And then after that, we're going to look at some configuration. Release strategies. What is a release strategy? Electronic signature.
Okay.
Let's say I have set up a strategy saying that any from $1 to $10,000, you have to approve. From $10,000 and 1 penny to 20,000, he has to approve. So we're looking at that release strategy. We're going to be looking at output types, how we print. We're going to look at condition types, how we set up pricing.
You have all this written down in order like we're gonna do it?
That's where I'm reading it from.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why she said just to listen to her.
I
She's
was
gonna
going to
get
show it to you off the screen, but my computer is not, but I will send it to you.
Yeah,
Don't-
she's
don't-
Okay,
she's gonna send it to all.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm just
yeah, because I'm
explaining
trying to write it. make
That's
sure-
why I
No,
said don't write.
Right, yeah.
I'm just
so-
explaining to you
Yeah.
high level overview, what we're going to be doing in the next
Does
14 weeks.
SAP, okay, we start talking about the plants, does it deal with the order picking when they remove an item? They pick that, and they have to document they remove that item, and so they pick it up all the way through the system?
Well, no, order picking, when you're talking about
Don't make me
picking
need a
and
drink when I
packing,
need.
you're now in
Where are you
SD.
going?
That's
Get some wine.
Picking, packing, post goods issue. Okay? When you do picking and packing, when you're talking about, and then if you go further in again to warehouse management, you're doing transfer orders. You know, you're transferring from the staging and all that. That is a different kettle of fish. Yeah. Any questions?
When you start dealing with currencies, you're dealing with people all over. Does SAP tell you which currency is the best in terms of making money?
That's another question. That's a question. In SAP, once you create the vendor master record, right, it will ask you for the currency. Okay? That currency is the currency that the vendor wants to be paid in, regardless of the currency on your purchase order.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your purchase order is in yen and the vendor says he must be paid in dollars, that's how he's going to be paid.
Okay.
That vendor master record is everything you need to know about that vendor is in his record. And also, when you have a material master record, you also can have an exchange rate. You see those things about rates, jurisdictions, and what is it called, taxes and everything.
Correct.
SAP has what we call a bolt-on.
Okay.
Okay, we can bolt on vertex onto the system, and that vertex will calculate the taxes, applicable taxes based on the jurisdiction and the zip code of that vendor or the material or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
so we
sense.
have things that are like that are you bolt onto the system and it does that calculation for you.
Now, when that PO has a different exchange dollar or whatever, was that an error? Or somebody did it in error
No.
or whatever?
The vendor may be in China. Okay, the PO was created here in USD. Okay, so we create it in USD based on the exchange rate of the material and the way the vendor wants to be paid. Those things are taken into consideration upon invoice verification when we're paying the invoice. Remember, when we create an invoice, right, we are saying that MM comes to an end. Okay, we have nothing else to do.
Right.
What we have done by creating that invoice, saving it, is we're now giving FI the authorization to pay that invoice based on the invoice that we generated.
Yeah.
So you see the integration. So what happens is that MM comes to an end. That's it. We posted the invoice, we processed it, we've gotten our document number. The next day, FI will pick up that invoice on the other side of the fence and pay according to what? The payment terms in the vendor master record.
In the vendor
So remember I
record.
told you that the vendor master record
Yeah.
is a record we share with FI. So based on that invoice, we will pay. So if the vendor says, I want to be paid immediately, he will be paid immediately. If the vendor says, next 15 days, I will give you a 3% discount, okay? You see the importance of paying correctly and paying correctly, because if for whatever reason that invoice is sitting somewhere because it hasn't been processed, right? And it's saying net 15, you get a discount or whatever. The day is already being counted as that posting date is, so heads are going to fly because the company wants to take advantage of
the discount.
The discounts. And if it's sitting somewhere and hasn't been processed, and there is a place it can be sitting, and I will show that to you in class, then something is wrong somewhere.
So this is what she's saying, and that's what this system, I noticed that I don't think our system was doing it. I know it's like if I had a vendor, I can put in like if it's 15 days, 30 days or whatever, and however they want to get paid. But you're saying this system not only is our terminology, but it also let us pay in currency for whatever.
You can pay in whatever currency that you want.
That's what
the most important currency is the currency in the vendor master.
In the vendor master data.
So your PO can be whatever currency it wants, but the currency must be the currency in the vendor master record. So if it is different, that's where your exchange rate comes in, and all these other factors are taken in, and those are bolt-ons onto MM to be able to determine because the rate of exchange in one day may be up and it may be down the next day. Okay? Yes, sir.
See, one of the reasons I'm confused is like everything you've been talking about for the last 30 minutes are variables. I still don't understand the basic. Now you are adding variables. So if I'm going to a company, if I'm going to be working in finance, I want to know the SAP that goes with finance. If I'm going to be working in warehouse management, I want to know that. But this class is not just for one section, it's for like the whole.
It's the whole gamut.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, okay, I want it compartmentalized. Like, okay.
It is compartmentalized.
Yeah, I know that's when you were reading it. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, okay, before we go, what is the basis that every department?
That's what I've already explained. That what is the basis? The basis that the basic for any module you do in SAP, you must set up your organizational data. You must set up your master data to be able to manipulate your transactional data. I cannot do transactional data if I haven't set up that data, which is the example I tried to show you when I created the vendor, and I said, enter vendor Tinu. I know my name is completely foreign. So I know that if I put in Tinu vendor, 9 times out of 10 or 11 times out of 10, there's not going to be a vendor Tinu unless I put it in there. And since I've not been in the class, I know it's a new system. There's no Tinu. So those are your constants. Your constants are your purchase in your organizational data, your master data, and your to be able to manipulate the transactional data. Do you understand? Now the variables come in when I say, okay, I created a, I have this document. Okay, I want to create a purchase requisition. Okay, I know the vendor, right? So what would I do? I call the vendor, I put it in the purchase order. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I don't know the vendor, what is the variable? My variable is that I have to create a request for quotation. Send it out to the vendors. That request for quotation will come back in as a quotation. When it goes out to the vendor, it has no price. When it comes back from the vendor, it has their price. Okay, that's a variable, one variable. Now, based on the pricing alone, I will choose the quotation and dump it and create my purchase order.
And now she has something to work.
Then it goes through the merry way of purchase order, goods receipt, invoicing. Another variable is that if my vendor is a tier 1 vendor, I don't have to receive the goods receipt. I can do purchase order. These are the variables. If I have a contract and the contract is for $50 million, do you understand what I'm saying? Dollars. Then I choose a contract with the document type that says it is a value contract. If I have a contract and I say it is for 25 million mini blinds, then that is a what? Quantity contract. These are the variables that are coming in. Your constants are always if I don't have the plant, I cannot have the storage location. If I'm going to do inventory in SAP, by requirement, I must have at least one storage location because the goods are physically kept in the storage location. They are valued at the plant level, but if I want to say, where are my mini blinds? I say, walk into, what is it called?
This plant,
what is it called? St. Michael's Academy. Come through the front door, come through the back door. This chair is where I keep my, what is it called? My mini blinds. So when I walk into this chair, I see my mini blinds. If I see a computer, right, what do? I take it and I put it where computers are going to be, where they are. Because when I'm counting, if I don't move that from there, then I'm going to be short. Because the system is saying I have 10 of those units. I only see 9 where it's supposed to be. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the computer is saying I have 1 short. So that is why these are the variables. So your constants are what I've said. Your material, your master data, your what is it called? Your organizational structure. If I say I have a material in a plant, right, and I say okay to myself, I said okay. I also want it in this plant. I can extend that material from that plant to this plant. But if I say this material is in this plant, and I want to I want to buy something from, and I say, go to this plant, the system is going to do what? Give me a hard-coded error message that material that you're talking about doesn't reside in this plant. It's not there. So I have 2 options. I can either extend that material to that plant, or I can give it the correct, what is it called, plant, where that material actually resides. These are the variables. These are the variables.
How do I know where it actually resides?
Because when you create it, right, you will tell it what plant and what's going to work with that.
You remember when you said,
So you assign it a plant.
You have to.
Because you have like a company and a sub-company, you can have the company and the company have so many
And
plants
you're
in
going to
different
do
places.
this, you're going to
and
do
then
it
it
till
breaks
you are
down.
blue in the face. When you create a material, the first thing you do, save it. The first thing it's going to ask you for is, if you have the purchasing view and the accounting view, it's going to ask you for what plant. Where does this material reside in one plant? That's the first thing it's going to ask you. You've got to know where the plant is. So when I call, I say, okay, I want to see the stock, and I go into MMBE, right? I have to put in the plant.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it. Remember,
Yes, you have to put in the plant. Material can't just be in Hula land or La La land. It has to reside somewhere. because it is that plant that will give it the value. I can have the same material, okay? Her red jacket. In this plant, it is $55. In this plant, it is $205. The same material.
Yeah.
But because it is cheaper to get it there, and
You need
I
that
have to
plant.
add transportation, freight, and to get it here. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's different.
Yeah, it is. Fine.
So that is why we say the value is the counting is at the storage location level. The value is at the plant level.
So if you have two different plants and with the same jacket, so with that location, I'm trying to get it in my
One
mind.
is priced cheaper and one is priced higher. Which one you gonna pull it from?
Oh, for that
Well, it depends. It depends on where it's going to. If the plant is in Houston and it's going to Canada, do you understand what I'm saying? It may be more cheaper. Makes sense to pull it from the more expensive plant. These are all business decisions that will have to be
Somebody
made.
had to pay for it.
So
Yes.
that'll just depend.
Yes, it just depends. It depends on so many things.
Okay.
You see, that is why we make the kind of money we make.
Yeah.
So are you trying to, when you do that, if you're working for a company, you just say, okay, you got these two different plans, but this person wants these so many jackets, and then for one plan is cheap and one is expensive, and you're like, okay, you trying to make the money for the company?
No, that's my business as a consultant
You count the
or whatever is not to tell them what I would just tell them these are the ramifications and the repercussions. If this is here in this plant, right? Now you can, if you consider freight, discount, surcharges, and it is more expensive to get it there, to ship it there. Or you might want to create a plant next to the border if you know you are doing business so frequently around that. Because what is a plant? A plant can be anything. I'm oil and gas. Our plants are the ships on the high sea. It doesn't have to be a building like you see in Beaumont. That is a plant. No, a plant is whatever the business says is a plant. It can be a maintenance center. It's a plant. This can be a plant for my pins. It's a plant. If I say it's a plant, it's a plant.
It's where you hold your material.
It is where you value your stuff at. And that stuff is at what? The storage location. So that's why if we're doing inventory, we have to at least if we're receiving into, for every plant, you must have at least one storage location. And that is the barest minimum, and that is an exam question. You must have at least one storage location.
What's the, is there a minimum on how many storage locations?
You can put as many as you like till you are blue in the face.
Okay. Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
These are good questions. Okay? And forgive me if I sound, I'm not frustrated, I'm just excited that you're actually asking.
Just trying to get it
you are asking good questions. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that means I feel as if you are understanding it, and even though your neighbor next to you on the south of the border doesn't seem to, it'll make sense.
And when you're playing with the currencies, you're trying to maximize the money. Only time you have to pay in the currency that the vendor wants is when it's time to pay the vendor.
Yes, he has to be paid in the currency of his vendor master. Now, 9 times out of 10, that field is made a required field. There must be an entry in there. Okay. Sometimes the business may not do that. If it leaves it vacant, do you understand what? Then you pay according to whatever is on the P or whatever. Remembering that even though you have a requisition, your PO is a legal document. You can take that person to court based on a PO.
So
that's your purchase order.
That's your purchase. It's a legal document in SAP.
Fine.
the PO is not generated
selling.
until after you do the RFP.
I mean,
Or
you're selling
RFP.
something.
Yes, there's a method to that. You must have a requisition. Most of the time, you must have a requisition. Okay? And what is a requisition? It's a demand. I need something. Okay? So once you get the requisition, depending on if you have the vendor, then you can do a purchase order. If you don't have a vendor and you have a slew of vendors that you want to be able to bid, then you do an RFQ. So request for quotation. You are sending them out and saying, hey, babe, we can see that you have supplied us with this before, or you can do this. Can you give us your best price based on quantity and whatever? And then they give you the price in that quotation. Okay, so those are the I don't know what language it is, the word you use. Those are the what, sorry?
Basics.
No, not the basic. These are the various scenarios.
Oh, the scenarios.
Yes, based on
Sequencing.
various
Things can happen.
And this is where your learning and your exposure will be able to allow you to contribute to a discussion. Because when you are in SAP and you're doing this everybody sharing whatever, you don't want to be silent. Okay? So if you don't have anything to say, the last sentence that somebody made, take it and regurgitate it and repeat it, but make sure it doesn't sound the same way. Just because you don't want to, because what they're going to say the next is that you are not a team player and you're not contributing. Okay, the same thing when people are going out for lunch and they say, let's go out for lunch. I would never do that because I love to watch my movies, so I'll go back into, my team lead had to tell me, said, you need to show up for some of these things because they will tell you that you're not a team player. And this is all about team. Even if you don't like the food, just go there, sit down and eat. And
that's true.
Buy a Coke, or even if you're not a drinker, just get a Coke or something. These are the things that you will learn. Because you have to be a team player. They have to see your participation. They have to see that if you're, God help you, if you're with a bunch of drunkards, you just have to be with them.
Oh, yeah.
Show camaraderie with
You
the
have to be, because the person, when they are looking for people to lay off, they'll say, oh, she was never a team player. She was never a team player. So these are the kind of things that we teach you, all these cheat sheets and all these things that you need to know, because it's not always just getting the job.
No,
it's getting the job and keeping the job. At least for a year, so you can get unemployment.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Any other questions?
So let's say you get everything in, you got 5 vendors and you send an RFQ out, but one vendor doesn't have everything in their pocket. Do you send out an RFI or something?
There's nothing like an RFI. If you send out an RFQ and they respond and you decide that you don't want 4 of them, you can send them a rejection letter.
Oh, yeah.
And tell them the reason why we didn't. But I've never heard of an RFI. Now, if you know what it is, you can teach a class on that.
No. It's just a request for information. They brought up in project management class.
Oh, well, that was project management. We don't do requests for information. We do a request for quotation in the MM portion.
They said you do that after the quotations come in. I've had it happen where we sent stuff out for quotes, and 2 vendors send in incomplete information. Happens a lot. So then we would basically send back requests for more information to complete their quotation. And if they don't respond by a certain time, then we reject them.
No, you see, for us, what we do is that we have what you call a submission date deadline. Do you understand what I mean? If they don't submit before that deadline, because there has to be a deadline and then there has to be a delivery date, where once they are accepted, they must deliver within that schedule. So if they don't comply before submission deadline, then they're kicked out.
Because you can't wait around for them.
No, you can't.
You promise that customer.
It depends on what it is. If it's something like an item that only 3 companies in the world make, right? And the number 1 company maybe is a Japanese maker of turbines. And then they send something maybe incomplete. You just don't reject them off the bat.
That is a scenario.
That's a scenario.
That is a scenario. If that happens, right, as long as the bid submission has not expired, you can probably send it back. I don't know. That would be a business decision. Do you understand what I'm saying? But normally, there is a submission date for bid deadline. Once that has passed, I don't care whether they're the next to John the Baptist for making turbines, they
But
haven't
see-
submitted, they haven't fulfilled due diligence, they haven't
But they
done-
know that too. They know that
Yeah.
because they don't
Okay,
talk
so
to your
that's gonna be like-
salesperson.
Whatever the other part of the company, they'll have to do that. But I guess for our purposes, that submit for quotation, they have to have everything in for you.
before the submitted
Okay,
deadline,
with
and
no
then
missing
you,
information.
if you are not going to accept, because you're only going to accept one, right?
Mhm.
Right.
If you're not going to accept, then you can send a rejection
That's
letter
what you said.
telling them that these are the reasons why we didn't take you. Okay, so that they have that in at the back of their mind when if there's another bid or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to go back to the restroom. Okay.
Hurry up because I'm on my way out. Run.
Oh yeah, we didn't have our second bathroom break. It's been like,
What, sorry?
we've been in for like
Fast one, hurry.
2 hours.
I'm like, we running.
Are you serious? Are you people are actually counting the number of
Well, I'm just saying, I drank my whole thing of coffee.
Do you get these?
I do. Now, does it have the email addresses of you people on it or just,
I think there was one.
who is
with
this?
that.
Who is this Robert? All the
He
people are
just
not here?
left.
Okay, they need to sign this. Who's Colette?
She was online.
Oh, who is David?
David.
Oh, that's you. Okay. Can you give it to him? They need to sign that.
Okay. I was gonna be an online person, but I don't know.
I don't know if that's gonna work because,
I mean, I feel like I'm here. It's, oh,
yeah, because they can't ask me a question.
I did online one night and it was my computer was buffering and I said, no, I can't stand that.
Okay.
All right. But a lot of the scenarios that I was working limited with Dow and
That was SAP, right? I know.
yes, they do, but they feel like they have people there that can train it. No, they didn't want to get anybody in, but that was the thing. I saw these things and they're huge, and I'm like, why don't these people? Why this one get paid? There were just all these questions, and I had no answer, and nobody else had an answer. So it's just been given to me tonight, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see. Why some people would get paid different ways and others.
Yeah, and then it depends on how you present yourself, though. You know, I mean, I've done jobs where it was really over my head, and that's the honest truth. And I was paid very well. You understand what I'm saying? So you don't want to take a job where you're sinking even before you start swimming. So you really have to take. That's why I was telling someone was asking, and I said, well, this class is equivalent to 3 years of on-the-job training.
Oh, wow.
I can tell.
Yeah, it's equivalent to 3 years on-the-job training. I mean, and it depends on. I'm saying 3 years. It depends on how you present yourself. I have some students like Star. I mean, by the time she finished, because she was so thorough and so, I mean, her knowledge was beyond the roof. And then she went and did the Trep 10. She's Trep 10 certified in 10 modules. So she's now a team lead in Reliant.
Wow.
So it depends on how hungry you are
Yeah.
for it. It really engages us.
I mean, I'll be hungry soon enough when I can't pay my bills.
Yes,
we're ready.
All right.
No, I'm ready to go. So
Oh, okay.
We're gonna pack it up, okay?
I'm starting my computer.
Oh, okay.
But it's in for a shortcut. Okay, so that is what we have done today. Okay, I hope it added on to what Star has. Star has a different perspective of the way she teaches. I sit in and listen to her too because it's completely different. But I do more of a drill down.
Yeah, I like that.
She's
Yeah,
kind of
Yeah, that's what
overview.
she said. She said you
That's
walk in,
characters kind of overview.
Yeah.
And she does a lot of other stuff. She does a lot of interface stuff.
She does interfaces, yes, and she does, I think she's doing Ariba now, which is our external procurement, you know. So, one thing I just led to the other, So don't just think that because you're doing MM, there's no, no. Once you know one thing, because if you really think about SAP is, once you have the organizational structure, you have your master data, the transactional data. The transaction codes are different. The organizational structure is different, but hey, once you know one,
It's easy.
yes, it's usually very easy to go and do the other part of it. So yeah.
So Ms. Tanu, so what today, what you have, given today,
Please can everybody
I am-
sign this in?
Yeah.
Because if you don't sign,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
you cannot.
Anyway,
Uh-huh.
from everything, I've never been in, any kind of course, did SAP anything, or any, my background was my administrative assistant.
Okay.
So this is all something that I'm doing a whole new route of a career, and I want something to be more, I guess, a little bit more challenging, but it also learning more, give me more learning aspect than just system administrative. So I am looking very forward of learning SAP material.
And then again, you learn, and if you feel that you're not comfortable, start as a user.
Yeah,
Just as a user, then pick
Yeah.
your way through. You don't have to start as a consultant.
yeah.
You don't have to start as a subject
going
matter.
up.
You can start as a user, just enter data. And my daughter, she used to work, she went to school in Vanderbilt. She has a master's, and she was working in Texas Children's Hospital, and she was making $8 an hour. And my husband woke me up in the middle of the night one day and said, Tino, am I not praying hard enough? I said, why? He said, how can you send a child to Vanderbilt, an Ivy League school, and then she's making and she's happy. And she was working from 10 or 11 to 7 or 5.
Oh.
This is madness, But like I say, God is not an author of confusion.
Yes,
No.
yes.
He already had his plan for
Yes.
her. You know that that working in that hospital, she
Yeah,
faced so much so many, because her name is Tiwa, and she paid people, they were not making fun of her name, but she was born here, that kind of thing. And now she has this job where, I don't know if you guys have heard of Epic.
Yeah.
She's a team lead on Epic.
Yeah.
And how did she get this? Because she already had knowledge and exposure,
In the
just data entry
And
in the hospital.
So she learned it.
So she learned it. Now she's doing build.
okay.
She had, since she started that job like a year and a half ago, she has her own apartment.
Yeah.
She had to leave because I told my husband can't have 2 wives in one house. And she has her own car.
Yeah.
She's doing so well. She hasn't been home to stay in her apartment for 3 days straight. Constantly working.
That's good.
Sometimes I say on the email or probably in the chat, I say, does anybody have any money, any spare change of what you want? But she started small, and we were grumbling, we were so upset.
Yeah.
But look at where she is today.
Yeah.
Mr. Duke,
And now,
you want this turned off?
Oh, we gotta turn.
to the students, are the students still on?
I think some of them maybe, but I guess we'll end the thing
Yeah, tell them that
whenever.
we're off.
If you go to the Chrome, what's it called? The Chrome to the main thing.
That's why you gotta
And then
be
if
here.
we ended, the red power button on the bottom, besides the left,
No, you gotta be
the
here.
big red square with the power button,
Yeah,
I think that's where we turn off the event. So we turn off, then I'll end the recording.